Chapter 4091. Spiritual Light City. However, we can confirm that there is indeed a spiritual nation in this realm. The giant ghost said with certainty. The Creation Alliance must be here. Let's go. We must find them. Lin Ling nodded and continued to move forward. As they moved forward, a small town appeared in front of them. The town did not look big, but there were many people. Most of these martial artists came from Jojo. Some were at the martial ancestor realm. Some were at the half-step martial god realm. Some were at the martial god realm. The difference in their overall strength was huge. However, Lin Ling could guess that they were here for the divine treasure. Lin Ling immediately landed on the ground and slowly entered the town. In the town, there were many people who were hiding their identities like Lin Ling, causing the atmosphere to be somewhat chaotic. Your Excellency, do you know where Spiritual Light City is? Someone leaped behind Lin Ling and suddenly stopped and asked Lin Ling calmly. Am I not looking for it too? Lin Ling, who was wearing a black robe and a black mask, said in a low voice. Is that so? However, I have a feeling that you seem to know more than us. Therefore, you'd better tell us what you know. When the person saw Lin Ling's indifference, he was somewhat unhappy. In addition, he had searched the entire realm but could not find Spiritual Light City. Therefore, he wanted to capture Lin Ling to vent his anger. I do know more than you. However, I feel that if you attack, there will be one more corpse outside the town. Sensing the other party's anger, Lin Ling spoke indifferently. He looked calmly at the man and the other party did the same. However, soon, cold sweat appeared on the man's forehead. He did not know why, but he felt that the mysterious black-robed man was very powerful. He was afraid that he could kill him with a single thought. I'm sorry, Your Excellency. I was too impulsive. I'm sorry. The cold sweat on his forehead increased and his back was drenched in sweat. The man quickly bowed and saluted. Get lost. Lin Ling did not want to attract too much attention. Therefore, after saying this, he strode forward. With his current strength, he deserved to be called a senior in the 9 prefectures. After entering the small town, Lin Ling immediately discovered that although there were many people in the small town, it was also extremely lively. Some of the restaurants and inns were overcrowded. Everyone seemed to be waiting for something. Lin Ling also hurriedly found a restaurant and waited quietly. While Lin Ling was quietly waiting, a large number of people slowly walked past on the main street. Their arrogant auras caused the passers-by to make way for them. The leader of the group was a woman. Her appearance was also quite good. At this moment, she was looking around with displeasure. Is there really a divine treasure in this rural area? Princess Tian, it said that the news was spread by the Taoist of many treasures, so it's most likely true. After all, the Taoist of many treasures is a divine weapon merchant. A young man with an extraordinary bearing by the woman's side smiled faintly. He had long hair and wore a brown robe. A sword was embroidered on the chest of the robe with golden threads. Moreover, it seemed like the robe was of excellent craftsmanship, and it was probably a good treasure. How do you know that the news was spread by the Taoist of many treasures? As far as I know, the Taoist of many treasures is a greedy person. Without money, he wouldn't casually announce the news. The woman frowned and declined to comment. Looking at her attitude, she was very cold and arrogant, as if she was superior to others. On the top floor of the restaurant, Lin Ling looked at the main street through the window, and his eyes instantly flashed. Princess Tian. He didn't expect to meet the woman who inherited Miao Shen's true teachings here. However, Lin Ling clearly didn't have time to pay attention to Princess Tian. Instead, he was pondering whether the news was true or false. Because the news was actually spread by the Taoist of many treasures? The Taoist of many treasures? Beside him, the giant ghost's eyes flashed. It and Lin Ling looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. This was because although the Taoist of many treasures was a divine weapon merchant, Lin Ling knew even more clearly that this person seemed to be related to the will of the world. When he had traded with the Taoist of many treasures, Lin Ling had also noticed the will of the world on his body. "Don't worry, no matter whether it's true or not, I will protect you." At this time, on the main street beside the restaurant, the young man smiled again and spoke with a strong sense of confidence. "Then, on behalf of Miao Shen's true teachings, I thank the Jin family." Hearing this, Princess Tian nodded slightly. With this young man's protection, Princess Tian didn't have to worry about her safety. This was because she knew that this young man came from the top academy among the 36 academies, the Heavenly Sword Academy. He was an expert who was ranked 123 on the stairway to heaven on the divine list. It could be said that with this young man around, many seniors at the martial god stage in the final world would be no match for him. The Jin family? Could it be the Jin family of the Imperial Sword? Suddenly, a sinister voice sounded on the main street. Then, two old men quietly walked over from the side of the road and blocked the path of Princess Tian and the others. "You know the Jin family." Seeing that the intentions of the newcomers were unclear, the young man also walked forward and spoke with narrowed eyes. Around his body, divine energy shot out like needles and landed on the ground, causing thousands of holes to appear on the ground. "I do. Your Jin clan's duke once injured one of my subordinates." The two old men wore large cloaks and had hunched backs as they spoke with a sneer. It was obvious that they had grudges with the Jin family. No wonder they immediately walked out when they heard the two words Jin family. Although the Jin family wasn't a big family in the final world, it was still an existence that couldn't be underestimated. "You're looking for the spiritual light city? Hee, beg me. If I'm in a good mood, I might lead the way for you." Then, one of the old men took off his cloak and revealed a skinny face. However, this face was very disgusting and was full of scars. Moreover, if one looked carefully, those scars were sewn together with thread. As the old man spoke, the wounds split open, but no blood flowed out. Instead, one could see flesh and blood. Spiritual Light City? The surrounding martial artists instantly looked over. However, when they saw that hideous face, they all frowned. "That little girl looks pretty good. If you accompany me for a night, I'll definitely take you to the spiritual light city." The other old man also took off his cloak. He only had one eye, and the other eye was protruding out. It was extremely disgusting. Both of them had the same characteristic, which was that there were wounds on their faces that were sewn together with thread. Lin Ling also poked his head out of the window of the restaurant and stared at the street. Suddenly, he felt that the characteristics of the two old men were very familiar. Great Devil Sect. Then, Lin Ling reacted. The Great Devil Sect's characteristic was to piece together demonic beasts. They cut off each part of the demonic beast and put it together to control it. That year in the Yan province, Lin Ling was chased by a Great Devil Elder. After that, it was Yue who saved him. The Great Devil Sect had 5 Great Devil Elders. One of the Great Devil Elders had died. He was killed by Young Monster and Lin Ling. Right now, Lin Ling had a feeling that the two old men on the street were probably the Great Demon Elders because they were not weak at all. Chapter 4092. The 100 Sword Sect fought against the Demon Beast. "You're missing an eye. Could it be that it was dug out by someone? You deserve it, but it's too easy for you to have an eye dug out. In my opinion, your mouth is so smelly, you should cut off your tongue." At this moment on the street, Princess Tian also said coldly. Because these two dirty old men actually dared to humiliate her? The young man beside her also said coldly, "The two of you, each of you break an arm." For Princess Tian's face, "I'll spare your lives. You really don't know life from death." The two old men narrowed their eyes, obviously angry. One of them said coldly, "You don't know our identity, otherwise, would you dare to speak like this? Let me tell you, we are the demon elders of the 9 prefectures' 10 ferocious devil sect. I saw that your aptitude was not bad, so I gave you the opportunity to be my materials. Otherwise, I would have already destroyed you. Great Devil Sect? As soon as these words fell, the street instantly became silent. The people present naturally knew about the 9 prefectures' 10 ferocious devil sect. What surprised them the most was that the 2 who appeared here were actually 2 demon elders. Many people knew that the Great Devil Sect had 5 demon elders, only second to the Great Devil God. Great Devil Sect. Princess Tian and the young man also narrowed their eyes. They did not expect the other party to have such a big background. Do you know fear? Seeing that the 2 of them were silent, the 2 demon elders spoke again. Fear? What a joke, I only wanted to break one of your arms, but now, I want to break both of your arms and kill you. The young man's realm essence fluctuated and turned into the shape of a sword, soaring into the sky. No wonder you stopped us from the beginning, so it's an old enemy. Next, the young man's right hand turned into a sword and pointed forward. Ferocious divine power gushed out, turning into white swords that were controlled by him and shot forward in all directions. 100 Sword Sect. Rumble. Heaven and earth immediately shook, and this world seemed to be about to shatter. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. That young man was so strong. Sword Sect? Could it be an expert from the Sky Sword Academy? Someone even cried out in surprise. Heavenly Sword Academy was the #1 academy among the 36 academies. There was no need to doubt the strength of the students who graduated from this academy. The greatest characteristic of this academy was that they were incomparably powerful when it came to swords. Even Lin Ling took a second glance. It was undeniable that in terms of sword control, that young man was slightly stronger than him, Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling's true inheritance, the dark sword, was also a flying sword, it was clearly not as proficient as that youth. However, Lin Ling also guessed that sword manipulation should be that youth's trump card. Acquired divine fetus? Looks like your father has spent a lot of treasures on you. Seeing this, one of the demonic elders also released a terrifying amount of demonic chi. The demonic chi turned into a giant bat and covered his back. Come out. The gigantic bat was as large as a mountain and incomparably black. However, a large number of black objects swam out from the bat. Upon closer inspection, they were actually small bats. These bats came in all shapes and sizes. Some of them had dragon horns, while others had tiger mouths. It was as if they were pieced together. Swoosh. Swoosh. Unorthodox. The youth snorted and controlled countless white swords to shoot at the bats. Watch me cut them into pieces. Swoosh. 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 The sharp white swords shot out, making the youth look extremely dashing and elegant like an immortal. However, those swords were indeed powerful. They were mixed with the power of divinity and the power of talent. Wherever they passed, a large number of bats were pierced and fell from the sky. The power of divinity has probably reached as many as 9 strands. In the restaurant, Lin Ling nodded secretly. The youth's strength was not bad. As expected of an expert from Heavenly Sword Academy. He has 9 strands of divinity at such a young age. The demonic elder's eyes narrowed. His cultivation level was similar to that of the youth, but his talent was slightly weaker. However, the number of demonic beasts he had pieced together was greater, so he had a certain advantage. However, the youth had too much divinity. Come out. Of course, the demonic elder beside him did not think that he could stop the youth alone. Swoosh. 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 After many poisonous insects crawled out, they immediately flew up. Some of them turned into poisonous mosquitoes and some turned into poisonous bees. However, these flying creatures all had the same characteristic, which was the phoenix feather. Their wings were pieced together by the phoenix feather. What a big deal. They actually used the phoenix from the era of gods as a material to piece together demonic beasts. Everyone was shocked. As expected of the great devil sect. In the field of piecing together demonic beasts, no one could compete with them. Dirty insects. Disgusting. Come out. Seeing this, Princess Tian also shouted. She opened her jade-like hands and a small exquisite pagoda appeared. Then, she gently threw it out. Damn old man, in order to piece together these demonic beasts, the two of you must have prepared for tens of thousands of years. Today, I will destroy them all. Princess Tian's heart was also very vicious. She destroyed the efforts of others. Bitch. I didn't expect you to be so cheap at such a young age. The two demon elders were immediately infuriated. Swoosh. As for the small exquisite pagoda, after it floated out, it immediately emitted a colorful light. Then, the power of wind, thunder, snow, and fire gushed out and swept away everything in its path. As soon as the power came out, the poisonous insects and bats in the sky and on the ground were immediately destroyed. Seeing this, the two demon elders gritted their teeth and urged all their savings to fight against the small exquisite pagoda in the sky. What a terrifying treasure. The small pagoda seems to be emitting the power of God. A treasure that can release the power of God is definitely an innate divine weapon. Moreover, its level is not low. He is a true disciple of Miao Shen. How can he not have a treasure on him? So, this is a very normal thing. The onlookers had their eyes widened. At this moment, Lin Ling also appeared on the street from the restaurant because the restaurant he was in before had been destroyed by the battle. He stared at the small exquisite pagoda in the sky and was shocked. He estimated that it was a 7th grade innate divine weapon. Hee, Princess Tian, let me deal with this trash. There is no need to dirty your hands. The young man suddenly laughed and controlled the 100 swords to sweep over the demonic beasts. In his opinion, the great devil's sect was just an undeserved reputation. Although they were called the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, they were actually as fragile as tofu in front of the experts from the final world. Bang! Bang! After the flying swords were released, more poisonous insects fell to the ground. This also made the two demon elders feel pain in their hearts. The demonic beasts that they had stored for many years were almost completely destroyed by these two bitches. Chapter 4093. Careless. The flying swords pierced through the demonic beasts. In the end, all the demonic beasts were destroyed. The ground was filled with poisonous insects, twitching slowly. It was a terrifying sight. What other tricks do you have? Seeing the demonic beasts destroyed, Princess Tian spoke indifferently. What other tricks can they have? They can only wait for death. Not far away, the young man laughed contemptuously. Don't be happy too early. However, the two demon elders spoke at the same time. Their words made Princess Tian and the others frown. They were dying, yet they were still so confident. I've said it before. I'll cut off your tongues and then kill you. However, Princess Tian clearly did not believe the words of the two demon elders. Look at your exquisite pagoda. However, the next sentence of the demon elder finally made Princess Tian frown. Then, her expression changed greatly. She realized that she had lost control of her divine weapon. The exquisite pagoda, which was still floating in the sky, became dimmer and dimmer. Its surface was covered with dirty blood. The dirty blood continued to spread. Then, with a clang, the exquisite pagoda fell from the sky and completely lost its luster. This made everyone cry out in alarm. What was going on? It's corroded. The corrosive power came from the blood of the demonic beasts. Lin Ling's eyes lit up. He had figured out something. The demonic beasts seemed to have been destroyed by Princess Tian. In fact, before they were destroyed, the demonic beasts also spilled blood. The blood had a mysterious power. When it came into contact with the divine weapon, it would immediately corrode the divine weapon and cut off the connection between the divine weapon and its owner. Of course, the effect of one drop of demonic beast blood was not great. However, with so many demonic beasts here, the exquisite pagoda naturally could not withstand it. Ha ha ha, laugh. Let's see how you can laugh now. Seeing the divine pagoda fall, the two demon elders laughed loudly. The heavenly princess continued to draw runes in an attempt to control the exquisite little pagoda. However, the exquisite little pagoda remained motionless. This caused her to angrily shout, "What did you do to my frost-red lotus pagoda?" "Filthy things, Princess Tian, don't worry, I'll kill them." When the young man saw this, he immediately said coldly, "Whoosh! Whoosh!" His 100 swords drew a beautiful trajectory and immediately shot towards the two old men. However, the two old men were still laughing loudly, as if they had not seen anything. "Laugh? Wait till I dig out your eyeballs. Let's see how you laugh then." In the young man's eyes, the laughter was like mockery, and he shouted angrily. However, just as those swords were about to reach the two demon elders, all of a sudden, swords fell from the sky. Clang! Clang! After the 100 white swords fell, the town instantly fell silent. The young man's pupils constricted as he summoned the white sword. However, there was no effect at all. "Weren't you very proud? Aren't you good at talking? Aren't you good at pretending? Now, show me another one." Looking at the two demon elders, they were in high spirits at this moment. "You've been tricked." Then, they laughed even louder. "What? You can even corrode with the power of God?" The young man's body finally trembled and his face turned pale. "I was careless. I should have killed you first, not the assembled demonic beasts." Now, he finally knew that the other party came prepared. "Jin Zhe, you're too ignorant." After laughing, the two demon elders finally said coldly, "We have a great feud with the Jin family. How could I not be familiar with your sword techniques? However, although we targeted your sword techniques, as you said, if you killed us first, we wouldn't have been able to resist. Unfortunately, you tried to kill all of our assembled demonic beasts because of your pride and pretentiousness. In the end, you ended up like this, ha ha ha." Hearing the demon elder's words, the young man's face turned even paler. He almost slapped himself. "Idiot. Now, I'll give you a chance. Hand over the girl and let us have some fun. Perhaps, you won't have to die." The other demon elder laughed sinisterly. "I." The young man's eyes flashed. "How dare you?" Hearing this, Princess Tian also shouted. Her usual arrogance had weakened a little at this moment. Because she also knew that she would not have a good ending if she fell into the hands of the two demon elders. "Fine." However, what made her angry was that the young man nodded directly. "Aren't you here to protect me on behalf of the Jin family? If something happens to me, the true disciple of Miao Shen will not let the Jin family go." This also made Princess Tian furious. "I'm sorry. My life is more important." The young man gritted his teeth and said word by word. After saying this, he lowered his head in shame. Ha ha ha. The two demon elders laughed even louder when they saw that the young man had betrayed the heavenly princess. They were obviously overjoyed. But soon, one of the demon elders pounced on the young man and kicked him hard on the head like a whip. Bang! The young man's head exploded as if it had been struck by lightning, and his brain matter spurted out. Dead. An expert from the Heavenly Sword Academy had fallen here. Obviously, the two demon elders had come for him and would not let him go. Whoosh! The young man's headless body also shot into the street and broke through the wall, causing the crowd to panic and avoid it. However, in the end, the young man's body was burned clean by a flame, and it was a golden flame. Unfortunately, the two demon elders did not see this scene. Instead, they looked at Princess Tian. What a pitiful little girl. Originally, this matter had nothing to do with you, but you walked together with Jin Zhe. Now, it's impossible for us to not kill you. The two demon elders walked step by step towards Princess Tian, and their ferocious faces had a hint of ferocity. Plop. Princess Tian was so scared that she sat down on the ground. Her strength was not strong, and she only had a powerful identity and a divine weapon. However, her strongest divine weapon had been corroded due to her carelessness, so now she had no power to resist. I am a true disciple of Miao Shen. If you dare to touch me, you will definitely die. Be careful that the great demon's sect will be destroyed. However, Princess Tian obviously would not let herself be captured, and she was still looking for an opportunity. If it was before, I would not have dared to touch you, but now, the great demon's sect has found a powerful backer. They are not even afraid of the gods, so why should we be afraid of Miao Shen's true disciple? One of the demon elders immediately said disdainfully. After speaking, he looked up and down at Princess Tian, as if he could see through Princess Tian. Princess Tian also had a feeling that her clothes were being stripped off, which made her panic more and more. She was most afraid of this kind of person who did not give face to Miao Shen's true disciple. I can give you treasures. Chapter 4094. Showing off his divine might. Those words made Princess Tian completely give up. Her face and eyes were full of confusion and helplessness. Her former pride had suffered a huge setback at this moment and was greatly destroyed. This was because this was the first time she had met someone who didn't give her face as Miao Shen's true disciple. Enjoy it. Just as she was feeling disheartened, the two demon elders had already walked over, rubbing their hands together like wolves. But right at this moment, a severed leg shot over swiftly from afar. Surging flames were burning on the surface of the severed leg, and it looked like a meteor from afar. Who is it? The sudden change made one of the demon elders' expression change, and he hurriedly blocked the attack. Bang! However, when the broken leg collided with old demon's palm, it actually sent him flying a dozen meters away. Boom! In the end, the broken leg exploded. Most importantly, this broken leg belonged to Jin Zhe from before. Moreover, wasn't he trying to infuriate the two demon elders by making trouble at this time? Everyone was shocked. Then, they immediately looked at the person who had come. They saw a man in a black robe and a ghost mask walking out from the crowd. He was mysterious and unfathomable, giving people a shocking feeling. Looking at the newcomer, the two demon elders' expressions changed. They didn't know why, but their intuition told them that this man wasn't simple. Princess Tian also looked at the person gratefully. If there weren't so many people around, she would have kowtowed to the person. That was because the person who came had protected something important to her. Unfortunately, the person who came didn't even look at her and coldly walked out. Is the leader of the Great Devil sect, the Great Devil God, in this world? A soft voice drifted out. It was a little hoarse, but it inexplicably made the atmosphere a lot more oppressive. So what? You dare to meddle in the affairs of the Great Devil sect? This is equivalent to provoking the Great Devil sect. The two demon elders stared at the mysterious man, not daring to act rashly. That's good. Where is your great demonic god? The person finally stopped and spoke coldly. Why should I tell you? You want to see the great demonic god? You're not qualified. Seeing this, one of the demon elders said coldly. However, he secretly took control of the dead demonic beasts on the ground. Originally, I planned to spare your lives. But now, it seems like you're forcing me to kill you. The newcomer didn't seem to know what old demon was doing. Huh, kill me? The two demon elders looked at each other and laughed. Do you know who that young man is? He's a strong cultivator from the Celestial Sword Academy. He's one of the top 100 cultivators on the Celestial Stairway. But now, he's dead. If you want to kill us, we'll kill you. That's right. Now, we'll give you a chance. Get lost immediately and I'll pretend that I've never seen you. Otherwise, I'll use your head to make a demonic beast. The two of them secretly took control of the demonic beasts, and their confidence increased by a notch. Everyone looked at the newcomer in shock. They did not understand why the other party had provoked the great devil sect. As for Princess Tian, she looked at the newcomer with a complicated expression. She didn't know why, but the black cloak, the slender figure, and the mysterious mask had left a heavy shadow in her heart. So far, many men had tried to curry favor with her because of the true disciple of Miao Shen. However, perhaps she was used to this kind of flattery since she was young, so she didn't like those men at all. Instead, she hated them. However, the man in front of her was different. He was very cold. He was filled with the domineering aura of a strong cultivator and a man. However, when she looked at him carefully, she felt that the man was somewhat familiar. However, when she thought about it carefully, she was sure that she had never seen this man before. I'd like to see what it's like to make a demonic beast. At this moment, the mysterious man finally opened his mouth. After saying that, he disappeared from where he was and shot forward at the speed of 5,000 worlds. And he was Lin Ling. Facing the two demon elders, Lin Ling didn't even need to use the talent fusion. It was enough to crush them. Come out. Seeing Lin Ling suddenly disappear, the two demon elders sneered immediately. Then, the demonic beasts behind them came back to life and rushed forward with their broken limbs. Looking from afar, the sky was full of demonic beasts, which was extremely terrifying. No matter who you are, once you are corroded by the blood of the demonic beasts, your strength will disappear temporarily. What an idiot. We have killed many martial gods over the years with this method. The two demon elders also laughed sinisterly. Endless demonic beasts flew out and hit a person in the air. Then, all the demonic beasts drowned that person. It's over. Many people shook their heads at this scene. Because the blood of the demonic beasts was corrosive, which was why Jin Zhe was defeated. Therefore, if the mysterious man could get close to the demon elders and kill them before the demonic beasts arrived, he could still win. However, if he fought with the demonic beasts, he would only end up dead. Boom! But right at this moment, the ground, sky, and space shook slightly, and then a strand of terrifying dignified aura swept out like an all-powerful force. Crackle, crackle. On the street, endless white thunderbolts burst out like sea urchins and wreaked havoc in the surroundings. If one looked carefully, the demonic beasts could not get close to the mysterious man at all. They were blocked by the sea urchin-like thunderbolts. What's going on? The two demon elders were startled. But soon, one of them laughed. I'm afraid he has some treasure. Just wait and see, the treasure will be corroded. Apparently, he was very confident. Bang! However, a figure had already rushed over. The sea urchin-like thunderbolts destroyed all the demonic beasts in front of him. It was extremely brutal. Then, the person came to the front of one of the demon elders and hit him with his palm. This palm was also mixed with the fierce power of thunderbolts. Ah! The demon elder could not react in time. He could not help but cry out in pain. His body kept twitching and his face was hideous. He could not move at all. The demon elder next to him was trembling in fear. What's going on? The person who came was not corroded? Is this the power of God? Suddenly, he realized that his demonic beast's blood had a weakness. For example, it was useless even against those who had the power of God. God's power, the power of God. Only a divine object could challenge its majesty. You are a trial tester. Next, Elder Emo screamed in horror. He knew that in this gathering of the Spirit Nation, they were not afraid of anyone except for the people of God. This was not to say that the Spirit Nation was afraid of the gods. It was just that the Spirit Nation did not want to be targeted by the gods too soon. However, a trial tester had come. Now, can you tell me where the great demon lord is? Lin Ling did not answer. Instead, he said coldly. Great demon lord, this the demon elder seemed to be in a difficult position. Bang! Chapter 4095. See the 18 weapons again. In Spirit Light City. Old Demon said anxiously. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. Naturally, he didn't attack for Princess Tian. To be honest, he couldn't wait for the Princess Tian to be killed by the old demon. This was because the Princess Tian had repeatedly harassed him. Lin Ling was also very disgusted by this woman. However, Lin Ling still made his move. His goal was naturally the 2 demon elders. He guessed that the Great Devil's sect was related to the Spirit Nation. Moreover, he was also worried that Senior Lu Chen would be in danger if the battle dragged on for too long. Therefore, he attacked with lightning speed. Take me there. Lin Ling grabbed the elder demon and controlled him with lightning. Then, he shot out along the street. He did not know if the people from the Spirit Nation were hiding in the town. So, he had to leave immediately to avoid alerting the enemy. Looking at the dead and injured old demon, the crowd was stunned. Too awesome. That mysterious man defeated old demon so easily. It's a trial taker. Someone said with admiration. They had also heard rumors that there were elites below the gods. There were a total of 40 of them, and every one of them was the youngest god. This is the first time I've seen a trial taker. Someone else spoke up. Thinking back to the previous scene, they would never forget it for the rest of their lives. He's a trial challenger. On the ground, Princess Tian's eyes flickered constantly. Recalling the scene from before, she still felt like she was dreaming. But shortly after, the flicker in her eyes quietly turned into admiration and admiration. He's so domineering. He's the most imposing man I've ever seen. Princess Tian muttered to herself. She realized that her heart was beating wildly. Her face had turned red. Obviously, she was attracted to that domineering mysterious man. Of course, if she knew that this man was the Lin Ling that she had tried to kill several times but failed, who knew how she would feel? At this moment, Lin Ling had already rushed out of the town. He used the Stare of Wisdom to seal the old demon to prevent him from leaking information. Take me there immediately. Then, he said coldly. Elder Mo had a bitter expression on his face because he had never expected to meet a trial taker. The 5 great devil elders of the Great Devil's sect could walk unhindered in the 9 regions, but they were afraid of the challengers. Seeing old demon's sullen look, Lin Ling didn't say anything more. He activated the Human King's flame and burned old demon in an attempt to assimilate him. Ah, don't. Lord Trial Taker, spare me. I'll kneel down before you. The Devil Elder was sealed by the steps of wisdom and couldn't resist at all. He could only scream in pain as he was burned. Even though his body was not hot, the majesty of a mortal monarch reached the depths of his soul. Gradually, he was also assimilated. However, just as the human monarch's flame in his body was about to completely assimilate him, Lin Ling's eyes flashed and he immediately withdrew the human monarch's flame. This was because he sensed a power that was similar to the Spirit Nation. This made him guess that if the assimilation continued, old demon would die without a doubt. Just like when Lin Ling met the man from the Spirit Nation before. When he wanted to assimilate him, he would rather die than be controlled by Lin Ling. He also had this power in his body that seemed to be able to revive after death. I'll talk. However, although Lin Ling didn't continue to assimilate him, old demon obviously couldn't withstand the impact of the Human King's flame and surrendered again. It's in a void underground. Old demon said with cold sweat on his forehead. Lead the way. Lin Ling said coldly, secretly feeling lucky. Lin Ling was no doubt more cautious about the Spirit Nation. The strength of the Spirit Nation was probably the strongest of the 9 regions' 10 evils. Yes. Old demon didn't dare to be negligent. A green poisonous fly appeared in his hand and he threw it into the sky. The poisonous fly flew in a circle in the sky and immediately flew in a certain direction. Follow the ancient ground fly and you'll find it. Old Demon also said to Lin Ling. Then, the two of them moved forward. They crossed thousands of mountains and rivers. Finally, the poisonous fly landed on a swamp and quietly changed its shape. Its wings contracted and it turned into a mole cricket. Then, it dug a hole and left. What is the great devil sect doing here? Lin Ling's soul force locked onto the mole cricket and he didn't act rashly. I don't know. I only know that the 9 regions' 10 evils have all gathered here. Moreover, there are many famous experts here. Old Demon smiled bitterly and said to Lin Ling, the 9 regions' 10 evils are all here? Lin Ling's heart trembled. He was even more certain that the spirit nation was here. Then, his soul force sensed that the mole cricket had entered a strange cloud. The cloud was hidden in the depths of the earth. It was pure white and about 100 feet in size. It was extremely mysterious. Once we enter, we will reach the Spirit Light City. Old Demon seemed to have sensed Lin Ling's investigation. He couldn't help but explain. Then, he said with a pleading face, after we enter the Spirit Light City, you will let me go. Let's go in first. Lin Ling knew that nothing ventured, nothing gained. Therefore, he grabbed Old Demon and used the true inheritance dark sword to cut open the earth. Then, he shot into the cloud in the depths of the earth. After entering the cloud, Lin Ling immediately had a familiar feeling. It was as if he had appeared in the void passage. This spirit nation's methods are really powerful. I guess they are most likely related to the world will. Drifting along the cloud, Lin Ling secretly said. After a long time, Lin Ling reappeared on a red wasteland. Looking around, the wasteland was vast and boundless. There were no plants. Instead, there was a white light in the distance that shot into the sky, exuding endless divine power. Woo woo woo. The wind in the wasteland was even stranger. It was as if a person was crying. The so-called spirit nation seems to be a bunch of people who pretend to be gods and ghosts. Lin Ling smiled disdainfully. Just as he was about to lead Old Demon forward, a cold voice suddenly sounded, Lin Ling, you have finally found this place. Then, figures walked out from the void. There were a total of 18 people, all holding 18 different weapons. They looked coldly at Lin Ling. Lin Ling naturally recognized these people. They were the 18 weapons that had chased after him. Moreover, these people were Luli Empress's people. Seeing these people, Lin Ling couldn't help but be shocked. Then, he frowned and said, you are following me? It's not really following, because we found this place before you. Moreover, we knew that you would definitely find it too. Therefore, we have been waiting for you here. One of the men held a halberd and said indifferently. Last time, he was the one who fought fiercely with Lin Ling. However, he was defeated by Lin Ling. Luli Empress is also here? Lin Ling asked again. If Luli Empress was also here, Lin Ling would be in danger. You don't need to know this. You only need to know that you will definitely die today. Murderous intent appeared on the 18 people. Last time, Lin Ling escaped. This time, they were confident that they would kill Lin Ling. Lin Ling, you are Lin Ling? Chapter 4096. An intense battle. He naturally knew the name Lin Ling. Back then, he had caused the death of one of their demon elders. At that time, the Great Devil's sect was enraged and had placed Lin Ling on their wanted list. However, Lin Ling back then was too insignificant and the Great Devil's sect had many important matters to attend to. Hence, they did not go out of their way to kill Lin Ling. They had wanted to kill him when they had the chance. However, by the time they had the chance, Lin Ling was already abnormally powerful. At that time, they could not kill him at all. In the end, in the God's store in the Dragon Valley Wasteland, Lin Ling had led the God Slayer Alliance to stir up a storm and become an overlord. At that time, the great devil sect was also there. However, they could only watch as Lin Ling became the Overlord. Why is it you? At the thought of this, the demon elder's bitter smile became even more intense. Die. However, Lin Ling did not show mercy. He activated the human flame and burned the demon elder to ashes. This was because he did not know if the demon elder was with these 18 people. Hence, it was more advantageous to have one less opponent. Since all of you are here, could it be that Luli Empress is also related to the Spirit Kingdom? Following which, Lin Ling sneered at the 18 people. You have a sharp tongue. I know you want to frame Luli Empress, but your plan will be in vain. Because Luli Empress is not related to the Spirit Kingdom. Don't think that you are the only trial taker of the deity realm. You are the only trial taker here. Among the 18 people, one of them snorted. Following which, the 18 of them released their realm essence. Through their words, Lin Ling immediately knew that other trial takers had also found this place. He immediately released his realm essence as well. The 18 people knew that Lin Ling was not simple. In a one-on-one battle, no one was a match for Lin Ling. Hence, the light of treasures rushed out from their bodies, causing the ground to billow with rumbling sounds. And in the sky, 18 different weapons appeared. They were all existences of the ultimate desolate body. These 18 weapons constantly emitted a sharp light, and then countless overlapping shadows appeared, forming a large number of blades and spears that shot towards Lin Ling. One had to know that although the 18 weapons were the ultimate desolate body, with their heads and tails fused together seamlessly, the power of their talents had reached the level of a connate divine fetus. Ding ding dang dang. 2 swords appeared in Lin Ling's hands, slashing apart the weapons that were shooting at him. Then, his eyes flashed and he disappeared from the spot. The moment he disappeared, a deadly whip swept across and shattered the void. After dodging the sharp whip, Lin Ling didn't do anything. He didn't stop moving and disappeared again. Rumble. Just like before, as soon as he disappeared, a huge hammer arrived and exploded. Countless nails shot out from the hammer. These nails were called realm-rotting nails. They could corrode the realm essence of a martial god realm expert. As long as one was hit, the realm essence would be consumed continuously. Furthermore, the nail couldn't be pulled out because once it was pulled out, the nail would enter the body. It was extremely vicious. Rumble rumble rumble. However, Lin Ling's speed was very fast. He appeared and disappeared continuously. Every time he appeared, there would be a huge hammer in the void that would explode continuously. What a nimble fellow. His speed is at 5,000 world speed. The 18 people were shocked. The last time they saw Lin Ling wasn't this powerful. It's okay. We will catch him. However, one of them said confidently. The weapon in his hand was a meteor hammer. He waved it slightly and then threw it into the void. The meteor hammer was extremely mysterious. Its speed wasn't fast, but once it locked onto a person, it would immediately follow the opponent. It felt as if the opponent was flying while dragging the meteor hammer. That was why the meteor hammer had such speed. These 18 weapons aren't strong, but their methods are very strange. Lin Ling immediately noticed the meteor hammer chasing after him. To his surprise, the meteor hammer was faster when he was faster. However, the meteor hammer was slower when he was slower. The meteor hammer's purpose should be to trap him. Caught him. At this moment, one of the 18 people's eyes lit up. 18 ancient slashes. Killing intent appeared on the faces of the others instantly. That was because Lin Ling had been locked onto and it would be difficult for him to escape. Rumble rumble rumble. The 18 weapons immediately attacked in a certain direction. Judging by their power, it was as if the heavens and earth were about to collapse. Rumble. However, just as the weapons were about to explode, the terrifying aura of the sea urchin rushed out from the center and knocked the 18 weapons back. Luai's physique, super enraged state. Ah, my face. My hand. After the 18 weapons were knocked back, they immediately swept toward the 18 people. Looking carefully, one of the 18 people was covered with world-rotting nails. Obviously, they were bounced back by Lin Ling's super enraged state. Some people had their hands broken by a godly weapon. 2 of the women were lashed by the meteor hammer and whip. One of them had a deep whip mark on her face as if she was disfigured. The other was smashed in the cheek by the meteor hammer and her bones were broken. These 2 women were originally good-looking, but now their faces were disfigured and they looked very ferocious. He is much stronger than he was back then. The 18 people's hearts were also rumbling. For more than 10 years, they hadn't appeared in the final world, so they didn't know Lin Ling's strength. If they were in Snow-Blowing City and witnessed the Divine Tao competition, they would know that today's Lin Ling was no longer the same as before. Of course, even if it was more than 10 years ago, if Lin Ling wasn't afraid of Luli Empress, they wouldn't be a match for Lin Ling. Just as Lin Ling was giving them a taste of their own medicine, Lin Ling's cold eyes stared ahead as he secretly said to himself, "This is Spiritual Light City. Therefore, I need to get rid of them immediately. If I cause too much of a commotion, I will alert the enemy." With this thought, Lin Ling also decided to end the battle quickly. Lightning bloomed from his body. Lin Ling held 2 swords in his hands and the speed of 5,000 worlds erupted. No need to scream, because even if your face is disfigured, no one will see you in the future. In front of one of the women, Lin Ling appeared. His 2 swords crossed and the Bodhi divine light appeared on the sword. Kacha. The woman was cut in half at the waist. Meteor. Seeing this, the others didn't care about the injuries on their bodies and shouted, "Next, it's your turn." Lin Ling disappeared again and soon appeared in front of another woman. His long sword pierced through her chest, causing her to die with grievances. "I'm going to kill you." A tall and sturdy man held a halberd. His eyes were red because that woman was his lover. "Your speed is too slow." Chapter 4097. The 9 prefectures' 10 evils had gathered. Kill Lin Ling? What a joke. Last time, they chased after Lin Ling and Lin Ling had yet to avenge himself. Now, they dared to come and kill Lin Ling. If Lin Ling did not kill them, he would be too soft-hearted. Evil ghost jellyfish. When it pounced towards another person, Lin Ling let out a low roar. A large number of black jellyfish swam out and entangled with the others. Swish. Another person was killed and blood spilled onto the wasteland. Next, another person. After one of the 18 people died, the others were unable to withstand a single blow and were easily defeated by Lin Ling. In the end, there were only 3 people left. They did not escape nor did they attack. They only looked at Lin Ling with anger. The 18 of them had been together for 30,000 years and were like brothers. But now, they were all dead. Therefore, how could they not hate Lin Ling? "I really like the look in your eyes." However, Lin Ling had been practicing martial arts since he was young. He was already used to the hatred in their eyes. Speaking of which, ever since he went to the final world, his killing intent had been restrained. But that did not mean that he would not kill. "I will remember you. If there is a next life, I will definitely take revenge." One of the dignified-looking men suddenly spat out blood from the corner of his mouth. Then, he fell from the sky. He had obviously committed suicide. "Coward," Lin Ling said contemptuously. Knowing that he was not his opponent, he chose to commit suicide. If this was not a coward, then what was? Even if he, Lin Ling, knew that he was not his opponent, he would never commit suicide. "Only the 2 of you are left. What else do you have to say?" Lin Ling then looked at the remaining 2 people. Their faces were filled with malevolence, and there was a hint of hysteria in them. "Lin Ling, let me tell you. Even if we die, you will not be able to gain any advantage. Because a trial taker has entered this place. He is trying to get close to Spirit Light City, but there are countless experts in Spirit Light City. Therefore, he needs a bait, and you are the bait." The two men looked at each other and suddenly burst into laughter. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He finally knew the purpose of these people. As it turned out, the reason why these people were fighting with him was to attract the experts from the Spiritual Light City. This would allow the challenger on the other side to infiltrate the Spiritual Light City and obtain the information he needed. "It seems that you are very familiar with my whereabouts." Lin Ling's eyes became even colder. He was very curious as to who this trial challenger was. They had no enmity with each other, so why had he been asked to draw the enemy's attention so that he could complete his mission perfectly? When you left Lord Lei Gong, your whereabouts were being monitored. We also knew that you would definitely find this place. Therefore, when you first appeared here, that challenger already had this thought. However, the two men sneered. "It's just that you didn't expect that you would die here, right?" Lin Ling continued and said the words that the two men had not finished speaking. The truth was indeed so. According to their original plan, they were to engage in a fierce battle with Lin Ling. If they could kill Lin Ling, that would be good. If they could not, then they would immediately retreat and let the experts of the Spiritual Light City find Lin Ling to settle the score. However, they did not expect that Lin Ling's strength would be so strong that he could easily kill them. The time he needed to do so was not long at all. "Thank you for telling me. However, I think that you won't be able to see me being chased. As for that challenger who provoked me for no reason, I will find him." Lin Ling did not dare to delay any longer. His sword unsheathed and immediately took their lives. Then, without stopping, he rushed into the distance. According to his guess, the great battle here had attracted the attention of the Spiritual Light City. The truth was indeed so. Just as he moved, a strange fluctuation came from his surroundings. "Lin Ling, a large number of experts have arrived. I'm afraid that it will be difficult for you to escape in a short period of time." Beside him, the giant ghost also sensed something and said solemnly. Lin Ling's eyes flashed and he helplessly shook his head. He could only stop his footsteps. Almost at the same time, the fluctuations in the surroundings were like water ripples. Then, a large number of figures appeared in the sky. Their cold gazes were also looking at Lin Ling. "It's you." The first voice was heard, "You are Lin Ling." Looking carefully, the person who spoke in the crowd was the woman in white who was killed by Lin Ling not long ago. However, compared to before, her aura was much more vigorous. Her every move carried the majesty of a god. It was obvious that her strength had increased. Most importantly, she actually recognized Lin Ling. After all, Lin Ling had hidden his identity. "Lin Ling?" Then, a series of surprised voices rang out. Lin Ling's gaze swept over and could not help but be secretly shocked. This was because many of the experts that appeared were people that he had seen before. There was the Immortal Temple, the Tomb Guardian clan, the Ancient Demon clan, and the Eternal Resting Place of Heroic Spirits. They were the 9 states' 10 evils. Lin Ling never expected that the Spirit Nation would have such great courage to gather all the 9 states' 10 evils. Among the 9 states' 10 evils, many of them were related to Lin Ling. For example, the Celestial Temple was where Yue used to cultivate. The Ancient Demon clan was the force behind the Demon Young Master. The Tomb Guardian clan was from the Dream Stream. Looking at the Guishi clan, they were also related to the Emperor of Gold. Among the 9 states' 10 evils, except for the Land of Eternal Slumber and the Great Devil Sect, most of them not only had no enmity with Lin Ling, but they also had a good relationship with him. However, everyone looked at Lin Ling with a complicated gaze. "Kill him." At this time, a fierce voice suddenly rang out. It was an old man. He was the Gu King of the Land of Eternal Slumber. He and Lin Ling were naturally irreconcilable. "I didn't expect that you, old man, are still alive." Lin Ling stared at the other party and smiled faintly. Let's see how you escape this time." The Gu King's face was terrifyingly cold. This was because the kid in front of him had already killed 90% of the people in the land of eternal slumber. Wanyan Shiji had died in his hands. Back then, at the Dragon Tribe, Lin Ling had almost caused him to die there. This person is a trial taker, so we can't let him leave alive. Another man said indifferently. This person was more than 2 meters tall and wore a black robe. There were 3 silk banners behind him, making him look like a great devil god. He was also the great devil god of the Great Devil sect. His strength was not much weaker than the 9 states' 10 martial gods. To be able to become the leader of the 9 states' 10 evils, his strength was naturally one of the best among the martial gods. However, as soon as his words fell, the other leaders of the 9 states' 10 evils fell silent. Although they did not know Lin Ling, they knew that Lin Ling had a good relationship with some people, and those people were the rising stars of the 9 states' 10 evils. Therefore, they had to give him face. Chapter 4098. Boiling battle intent? The lady in white suddenly smiled faintly and said, "There are only 2 endings for such a character. 1. Join our spirit nation. 2. Die." After saying that, she looked at Lin Ling with a smile and let Lin Ling choose for himself. "I choose the 3rd option," Lin Ling said with a smile. "That's not up to you." Hearing this, the lady in white narrowed her eyes. Then, she did not waste any more time and directly attacked. Her body exploded with dazzling light. With ferocious divine energy, it shattered the sky and attacked Lin Ling. 10 streaks of divine energy. Lin Ling's eyes were cold. The lady in white was not this powerful the last time. It seemed that the mysterious spirit nation could indeed be resurrected. After resurrection, their strength would greatly increase. Great earth flames. Putting aside his thoughts, Lin Ling tossed the 2 swords aside and drew something in the sky with both hands. Golden flames poured down from his body like a waterfall, forming a huge Dharma idol of the human king on the ground. The Dharma idol of the human king was covered in golden flames. It looked ahead and punched out. Rumble. A deafening sound rang out. The wasteland was overturned. In mid-air, a white palm and a golden fist collided, forming a ferocious divine energy storm. Crash. The experts of the 9 states' 10 evils were all unsteady on their feet and were sent flying. However, their eyes were solemn as they marveled at Lin Ling's current strength. Back then, Lin Ling, the son of the devil who came from Qingzhou and destroyed the gods, was now a big shot in the entire universal void. They were ancient figures and had been famous for a long time. But now, a rising star seemed to have walked step by step from the current era to the ancient times and was on par with them. Whoosh! At this moment, a white figure flew out and floated in the sky. She had her hands behind her back and her white clothes fluttered. She looked coldly at Lin Ling and said, "The human emperor's celestial flames is indeed extraordinary. Both of us have 10 streaks of divine energy, but I'm actually weaker." Her right hand behind her back was constantly clenching and unclenching. Obviously, the previous collision had made her palm very uncomfortable. The experts of the spirit nation are also not simple. Lin Ling also spoke up, "But what makes me curious is that the spirit kingdom has gathered so many experts. I wonder what you guys are up to. Join us and you'll know." The lady in white, Lin Ling Atlas Studios, "You know that's impossible." Lin Ling shook his eyes. "I wanted to sneak in, but I was betrayed by some shameless person." "Forget it, I was discovered. Let's fight." "If I can't sneak in." "If I can't sneak in, Transin." His last sentence was filled with a domineering aura of superiority. "Transin. Do you think you have such strength?" Hearing Lin Ling's words, the woman in white could not help but laugh. "Come. You're speaking so highly of yourself. Let me see how strong you are as a trial taker." Gu King said coldly. He knew that Lin Ling's strength was very strong and was almost on par with them. However, it was impossible for one person to fight against so many of them. Therefore, he could not wait to fight Lin Ling to the death. Is that so? Do you think I only have the strength I have now? Lin Ling did not care and smiled. Next, he fused his talents and used all his techniques. Body of Thunder Lock. Dragon God Armor Unsealed. 6 Dantians fused. Devil Jellyfish, Dragon God Talent, Realm Swallowing Beast, and other powers were all displayed. In the eyes of the people, it was as if a catastrophe had arrived. A man floated in the air like a demon and a god. Behind him, countless tentacles were baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. 2 dragons were on his shoulders, and behind him was the mouth of countless realm-swallowing beasts. What was terrifying was that white lightning was wreaking havoc in all directions. Above his head was the wrath of a human king. Chi! Chi! Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. They felt as if they had come to a zoo. This was because Lin Ling had too many talents. Furthermore, each of them was an extremely terrifying existence. 2 divine fetuses and several ultimate desolate bodies. TSK. If this child matures, he will definitely be a terrifying existence. Why wait until he matures? He is already not weak at the moment. Next, I think there will be a tough battle. This is the full strength of the son of the devil, Lin Ling. How did this rising star cultivate? Why does he have so many trump cards? The leaders of the 9 states' vicious 10 were all knowledgeable people. However, it was clearly their first time seeing a freak like Lin Ling. Therefore, they also knew that it was not easy to harm Lin Ling. Without a tough battle, it was impossible. This is your full strength. It seems like I underestimated you last time. The white-clothed woman said with a serious look in her eyes. The boundary energy on her body soared into the sky. She was ready for a tough battle. The Gu King and the great demonic god also secretly released their strength. As for the other leaders, their expressions were extremely complicated. However, they still released their strength in the end. An ancient war was about to break out. Farewell. However, at this moment, Lin Ling suddenly laughed. Then, with the speed of 6,000 realms travel, he disappeared under everyone's dumbfounded gazes. Everyone was stunned for a long time. Farewell? He was not going to fight anymore? What the heck? They had already taken off their pants, and Lin Ling showed them this? Damned brat. Next, the Gu King immediately roared. He was so angry that his face was distorted. Clearly, he also knew that although Lin Ling seemed to have released his full strength and was ready to fight to the death, he was actually preparing to escape. The most important thing was that he wanted to escape. Why did he have to play with these ancient monsters? Moreover, he was so calm when he escaped and even said goodbye. His face was full of fighting spirit. Fight my ass. Goodbye? The white-clothed woman was also stunned. She was so angry that she almost broke her teeth. Chase him. Of course, she would not let Lin Ling escape. Lin Ling was a big problem in her heart. If she could not make him one of them, she had to eliminate him. At this moment, Lin Ling was crazily moving along the wasteland with the speed of 6,000 realms travel. Fight with those old monsters? What a joke. Lin Ling was not that stupid. Not to mention whether he could win or not, even if he could, he would alert the enemy. After all, he was here to save people. Moreover, he was not confident that he could win. Of course, at the same time, Lin Ling also cursed inwardly. It was because of that trial taker. Otherwise, he would not have ended up like this. As for that trial taker, he must have entered the spiritual light city casually. Lin Ling would remember this hatred in his heart. Evil ghost jellyfish, disperse. Then, Lin Ling knew the strength of the leaders of the 9 prefectures 10. Therefore, he immediately urged the evil ghost jellyfish to fly in all directions. Chapter 4099. The whereabouts of Lu Chen. And this move was naturally to distract the pursuer's line of sight. At this moment, those experts were also quickly catching up from behind. Their speed was clearly more than double that of Lin Ling's. What a cunning junior. But do you think you can escape? We, the vicious 10 of the 9 prefectures, have not fallen for 10,000 years. Everyone has their own trump cards. He definitely won't be able to escape. Led by the white-clothed woman, all the old monsters sneered. But soon, they suddenly stopped flying and looked around. Then, they were all dumbfounded. What's going on? Why have so many Lin Ling appeared? Look at the aura, Lin Ling's aura is everywhere. We've been deceived. What should we do now? Everyone sensed their surroundings and discovered that within a radius of 10,000 miles, Lin Ling's aura was everywhere, causing them to lose track of Lin Ling for a moment. The Gu King, who had shouted the loudest earlier, felt as if he had been slapped in the face. He was so angry that his face was contorted. He finally met Lin Ling and had the opportunity to kill Lin Ling. However, he let Lin Ling escape again. Split up and chase after him. The woman in white's expression was cold as she waved her hand. Everyone nodded and immediately split up, running in different directions. At this moment, Lin Ling was like a headless fly, randomly choosing a direction and continuing to run wildly. With the speed of 6,000 worlds, he could easily pass through 6,000 worlds. However, this was a mysterious space that seemed to be endless. Even with the speed of 6,000 worlds, he still couldn't reach the edge. The wasteland was still a wasteland, stretching as far as the eye could see. After a long time, Lin Ling found a quiet place and sat down cross-legged. Using the speed of 6,000 realms for a long time, even with his realm essence, he was unable to withstand it. Then, he undid the talent fusion. However, before he could sit down, a figure stealthily condensed on a nearby rock wall. It was an elder wearing a gray robe. He had a head of long gray hair that was tied behind his head. Moreover, he carried a huge tombstone on his back as he slowly walked towards Lin Ling. A gust of wind of destruction quietly blew out from the wasteland. When it blew past Lin Ling's pupils constricted. From the wind of nirvana, Lin Ling sensed a mysterious aura. That old man was clearly very strong. Most importantly, he was also one of the leaders of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. Lin Ling. The old man stopped 100 meters away. He raised his head and looked at Lin Ling calmly. Then, he smiled. Senior. Lin Ling hurriedly saluted. Are you going to attack me? Hearing this, the old man's smile turned into a bitter one. If it were someone else, I would definitely not let him go. But you. Sigh, Meng Lu must be doing well with you. I haven't seen him for many years. He was the leader of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils Tomb Guardian clan. Naturally, he knew Lin Ling. Although it was his first time meeting him, he had heard of Lin Ling's name. He also knew that their young leader, Meng Lu, had always followed Lin Ling. Moreover, when he talked about Lin Ling, Meng Lu was extremely excited. He kept calling Lin Ling big brother and brother. It was extremely rare for Meng Lu to have such feelings for an outsider. You should leave. The old man smiled bitterly and shook his head. Just pretend that I never saw you. However, it's better for you to leave this place immediately. It's very dangerous here. Senior, do you know where Lu Chen is? Lin Ling hurriedly asked. His voice stunned the old man. He frowned and said, he's not doing well now because he refused to join the Spirit Nation. Then where is he? Hearing this, Lin Ling became even more worried. It's better if you don't know about this. The old man sighed softly. However, Lin Ling stubbornly said, Senior Lu Chen is my benefactor. I've come here for him. If I can't see him, I'll definitely search the entire Spirit Light City. Are you crazy? With your talent, it won't be long before us old fogies are no match for you. Right now, you're going head to head with us old fogies. Isn't this destroying your own future? Hearing Lin Ling's words, the old man suddenly shouted angrily. His voice carried a reprimand as if he was criticizing a junior. Perhaps Meng Lu was too familiar with Lin Ling. Therefore, he also regarded Lin Ling as his junior. Now that he saw that Lin Ling wanted to throw his life away, he was naturally enraged. Whether it's destroying my own future or throwing my life away, I won't leave until I see Senior Lu Chen. Lin Ling did not blame the old man for reprimanding him. Instead, he stubbornly insisted. Sigh. Seeing this, the old man sighed. Then, he pondered for a moment and threw out a small bamboo token. The last time I saw Lu Chen was in Spirit Light City. I've recorded everything I saw in this bamboo token. I hope it can help you. Remember, you can't force your way into Spirit Light City. You must move stealthily. It's best if you can rescue Lu Chen. If you can't, leave on your own. Thank you, Senior. Lin Ling immediately thanked him gratefully and accepted the bamboo token. Then, he curiously asked, Senior's strength may not be unrivaled in the 9 states, but it's not far off. Why do you want to join the Spirit Nation? There's a deity behind the Spirit Nation and we, the 9 states' 10 evils, are related to him. Therefore, when he returns, we'll all be summoned by him. Of course, there are benefits for us as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't listen to the orders of others so easily. The old man faintly said, moreover, there's a powerful background behind that deity. However, this is only our guess. I'm not too sure if it's true. Just as he finished speaking, the old man's eyes suddenly flashed. Then, he quickly said, all right, someone's coming. Leave immediately. I'll hold him back for you. Yes. Thank you, Senior. Lin Ling hurriedly bowed gratefully and ran into the distance. This kid. Seeing this, the old man smiled helplessly. That kid, Meng Lu, has already called you big brother. As his grandfather, how can I not help when I can? After saying this, he calmly walked forward. Old Tombstone Ghost, do you feel that something is wrong in this direction? At this time, a rolling corpse aura finally came from behind him. Then, it turned into a huge ghost head and said faintly. Do you want me to seal you into the tombstone? The old man continued to walk forward without looking behind him. He naturally knew who was coming. It was the Gu King from the place of eternal rest. TSK, I'm just kidding. By the way, have you seen Lin Ling? The person descended from the sky and asked casually with a smile on his face. Do you think that if I saw Lin Ling, I would walk slowly here? Get lost. There's nothing strange in this direction. On the contrary, I've seen many jellyfish-like things along the way. They all have Lin Ling's aura. I think we've been bewitched by these things. The old man calmly said. I've also encountered many of them, but I've destroyed them all. That Lin Ling is so cunning. He actually used Wang Jian to deceive us. Speaking of the evil ghost jellyfish, the person immediately snorted. However, he smiled and said, You really haven't seen Lin Ling? Chapter 4100. Unfortunately, you can't go back. Hee, I'm just asking. After all, I heard that your grandson is very close to Lin Ling, so I'm afraid that you've secretly released Lin Ling. Of course, it's best if you haven't. After all, you should know that the price to pay for deceiving the Spirit Nation is very high. Sigh. Gu King narrowed his eyes, and there was a cold light in his eyes. Then, he laughed indifferently. If you have evidence, you can tell the Spirit Nation. If you don't blame me for being impolite if you continue to spout nonsense. The old man snorted coldly, and his voice was filled with murderous intent. All right, if you don't have evidence, then you don't have to be angry. I'm leaving. Goodbye. Gu King immediately waved his hand, and then ran in another direction as if it didn't matter. Looking at the direction Gu King had gone, the old man was relieved because that was not the direction Lin Ling had gone. Then, he pondered for a moment, and also ran in another direction. For directions, one of which was the direction Gu King and the old man had come from. Then, they each chose a direction, and the last one was the direction Lin Ling had gone. Whoosh! The cold wind still blew through the wasteland, making it look like a place abandoned by the world. But soon, the ground cracked open, and a stinking corpse crawled out, laughing cruelly. This tomb keeper is obviously guilty. When he saw the direction I left in, he immediately calmed down. This means that the direction I went in definitely did not have Lin Ling, and the direction he went in probably did not have Lin Ling. Then, it's this direction. Sigh. He finally looked in one of the directions. He had already felt that something was wrong with the old man, because the old man was too calm. In addition, the relationship between the Tomb Keeper tribe and Lin Ling had made him suspicious. And the facts proved that his guess was right. The old man was guilty. Then, he chased in the direction Lin Ling had gone. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, there's a path to heaven, but you don't want to take it. Now that you've fallen into my hands, let's see how you're going to escape. Sigh. The ground wriggled, and a mound of soil rushed along the ground. Swoosh. Not long after, a malevolent ghost jellyfish appeared in the ground and seemed to be investigating him. Destroy. Sigh. The king of venomous worms shouted and destroyed the evil ghost jellyfish domineeringly. However, he was even happier. Because he was sure that Lin Ling was in this direction, and had discovered him. Run, let's see how you can run. Sigh. Boom. King of venomous worms rushed out of the ground and transformed into a 1,000-year-old corpse. He ran on the ground at an extremely fast speed. Moreover, as he ran, he laughed loudly, and a large amount of rotten meat flowed out of his stinky mouth. Lin, sigh, sigh. After a long time, a young man appeared before his eyes on a piece of red soil. The young man was leaning against a rock wall with his arms crossed and his eyes slightly closed. He seemed to feel that he couldn't escape, so he simply didn't try to escape. Looking at the top of his head, a mysterious umbrella was floating there. It looked very beautiful, and on top of the umbrella was an extremely beautiful butterfly. If a woman was here, she would definitely be very attractive. However, a man using an umbrella and a butterfly gave people a strange feeling. It's not raining, but you, Lin Ling, are using an umbrella. Are you scared out of your wits? But that butterfly is quite beautiful. Lin Ling, are you going to tell me that you like women's umbrellas and butterflies? Gu King saw Lin Ling from afar. Then, he slowed down and walked toward him with a smile. At the same time, he seemed to be smiling, but he was secretly checking his surroundings. As the resting place of the heroic spirits, Gu King was naturally more cautious. Do you know? You have destroyed 90% of the foundation of the resting place of the heroic spirits. Now, I have finally found a successor. However, before I pass down my mantle, I will kill you. Gu King said as he walked. You don't have to check. There's no one around. It's just me. At this time, Lin Ling seemed to know what Gu King was thinking and said calmly. Gu King's face turned red. He did not expect the kid to know what he was thinking. However, he was thick-skinned. He laughed and said, previously, it was that old man from the Tomb Guardian tribe who let you go. Don't think that I don't know. After I kill you, I will tell the Spirit Nation about this. Then, the Tomb Guardian tribe will be in trouble. That's a good idea. Unfortunately, you can't go back. Hearing Gu King's words, Lin Ling's killing intent was finally released. Obviously, he would not let Gu King escape. Buzz. Almost at the same time, the wings of the Purple River 6 Butterfly Divine War Chariot above Lin Ling's head flapped slightly. On the purple wings, a mysterious melody spread out. It looked slow, but it had a fatal power. What? Gu King had been paying attention to his surroundings. However, he realized that the most terrifying thing was the exquisite butterfly. Whoosh! A formless wind blew, trying to destroy everything. This wind was very ancient. On the surface, there was nothing special about it. However, it was extremely sharp. Gu King's flesh and blood immediately began to be blown away. He used powerful techniques, but he could not stop the wind from blowing. What the hell is this? He could not help but roar. He was getting more and more anxious. That was because he did not expect Lin Ling to have such a treasure. Moreover, his eyes lit up. He had finally discovered something. That was because Lin Ling did not seem to have been caught by him. Lin Ling had been waiting for him. This cunning junior. Come out. Next, he roared. He gave up on the 10,000-year-old corpse and released the huge golden silkworm. As soon as the golden silkworm appeared, the countless eyes on its body emitted light. Then, they condensed into a huge light wave and attacked Lin Ling. Obviously, he knew that the only way to defeat the mysterious butterfly was to kill Lin Ling. Whoosh! However, at that moment, the purple butterfly flapped its wings again, forming a divine wind that blew towards the huge light wave. Whoosh! Under the divine wind, the light wave was constantly being consumed, and its power continued to dissipate. Come on! Seeing this, the king of venomous worms roared and his eyes were bloodshot. Finally, the light wave reached Lin Ling and broke through the world of the divine wind. Gu King could not help but laugh excitedly. Whoosh! However, at that moment, the umbrella above Lin Ling's head formed a 5-colored light curtain and covered Lin Ling. When the light wave reached Lin Ling, it immediately exploded violently, destroying the wasteland. The shockwave raged out in a radius of tens of thousands of miles, causing the earth to tumble away. The golden silkworm's attack was still as terrifying as before. However, after the shockwave ended, the colorful light appeared again in the center. It was like a waterfall, protecting a man's body. Chapter 4101. Infiltration. How is this possible? The Gu King stood on the ground, his eyes trembling. In the end, it turned into an indescribable fear. He had managed to get Golden Silkworm's explosive bomb to Lin Ling's side with much difficulty, yet Lin Ling still had a treasure. How could he have known that the umbrella above Lin Ling's head was the Zenith Sky umbrella, which could release a powerful protective umbrella? It was a treasure left behind by the divine inheritance for Lin Ling. Together with the Zai 6 Butterfly Divine War Chariot, it was both offensive and defensive. If not for this, Lin Ling wouldn't have waited for the Gu King here. He knew that it was time for some things to be settled. Of course, although this offensive and defensive combination was powerful, it could only stop one powerhouse. Gu King, have a safe journey. Lin Ling said coldly under the Zenith Sky umbrella. No, don't kill me. I went the wrong way. I didn't see Lin Ling. Where is Lin Ling? All the Gu King's methods were useless against Lin Ling. Therefore, he was completely confused and wanted to pretend that he couldn't see Lin Ling like the old man from the Tomb Guardian race. It's too late. Of course, how could Lin Ling fall for such a cheap excuse? Then, Lin Ling turned around and left. The Zai 6 Butterfly Divine War Chariot was still floating where he had been previously, flapping its wings continuously. Although its movements seemed light, there was a hint of the great Tao within them. This kind of innate artifact had 5 chances to release its power. He had released it once against the Yuan Venerate Martial God previously. Now, Lin Ling had also used the remaining 4 chances on the Gu King. This was because he also knew that if the Gu King left, Lin Ling would be fine, but the old man from the Tomb Guardian race would be implicated. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to use the last 4 chances to destroy the Gu King. Don't. The Gu King's voice became softer and softer under the effects of the butterfly divine wind. Upon closer inspection, his entire body seemed to have withered and turned into a pile of minced meat. However, This was the minced meat of an old corpse, so it was very smelly. Even so, the minced meat was also constantly eroding under the effects of the butterfly divine wind. Spare me. As the minced meat became less and less minced meat, the Goo King felt like doomsday. Only the Zai 6 butterfly divine war chariot was strong enough. If Lin Ling was here, he might not be able to kill the Goo King, because the Goo King could turn into millions of spore goo and escape. The butterfly's butterfly divine wind could destroy all these spore goo after an unknown period of time. The enormous and beautiful butterfly in the sky gradually dimmed down, and in the end, it completely transformed into golden light and vanished. Clearly, the Goo God, the Goo. Looking at the wasteland that was in a mess, the Goo King had already disappeared without a trace. He did not even have the chance to turn into dust. He had completely died. Far away, Lin Ling was running wildly. He reckoned that the Goo King should be completely dead. This also meant that he had one less big problem to worry about. After all, the Goo King was too powerful. He was good at casting goo. If he had targeted Lin Ling wouldn't have been able to guard against him. Only by killing such an opponent could he be at ease. Of course, Lin Ling also felt that it was a pity that the Zai 6 butterfly divine war chariot had been wasted. This was a treasure that had once scared away a Yuan venerate martial god. I wonder what kind of treasures the inheritance treasure will contain when I reach the 3rd level martial god realm. Lin Ling was looking forward to it. The inheritance treasure of the gods guaranteed that Lin Ling would have all the cultivation resources he needed to break through to the martial god realm. If a 2nd level martial god already had such a treasure, it was hard to imagine what a 3rd level martial god would have. Lin Ling had already used up most of the treasures from the 2nd level martial god realm. All that was left were the Zenith Heaven umbrella and some divine stones. The divine stones could increase Lin Ling's divine power. However, he didn't have the time to refine them now. A bamboo tablet appeared in his hand. Lin Ling then released the evil ghost jellyfish to search in all directions. After a while, Lin Ling's eyes lit up. The evil ghost jellyfish had discovered that there was a spiritual light soaring into the sky in the far north. Under the spiritual light, an ancient city sat there. The divine might of the city seemed to be concealing an extremely ancient secret. This made Lin Ling guess that the spiritual light city was there. It wasn't hard for Lin Ling to guess the purpose of the spiritual light city. It seemed to be to attract more people into the spirit nation. However, the spirit nation hadn't opened up yet, so there weren't many outsiders. On the contrary, there were many powerhouses from the 9 prefectures, 10 evils and the spirit nation. These powerhouses had completely sealed off the spiritual light city. What a strong defense. If they discover me, I'm definitely not their opponent. I have to sneak in. Lin Ling thought to himself. Before meeting Senior Lu Qin, he didn't want to alert the enemy. After all, if he was discovered, he wouldn't be able to save them. However, it wasn't easy to sneak in because there were too many powerhouses. Moreover, they were all old monster-level powerhouses. They were proficient in all kinds of strange methods. Lin Ling couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't see through his identity. I can only give it a try. Lin Ling disguised himself and hid his aura as he rushed towards the spiritual light city. After traveling for 6 hours, Lin Ling was getting closer and closer to the spiritual light city. Looking around, the spiritual light in front of him soared into the sky. It was extremely sacred. Looking at the ground in front of him, he didn't know when it had changed from a wasteland to a field of ice. It was pure white, but it was also made of thousands of years old mysterious ice. It was extremely hard. The surrounding air was also much colder. Of course, to Lin Ling, this little bit of temperature was simply insignificant. Lin Ling, be careful. Someone is approaching. At this moment, the giant ghost beside him quietly said. Hearing this, Lin Ling's pupils constricted. However, he calmed down and continued to move forward in his white clothes. At this moment, he had imitated his aura to be similar to that of the spirit nation in an attempt to deceive them. Clop 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 clop. The sound of horse hooves came from the front. However, it was very fast. As soon as the sound fell, more than 10 men in white clothes appeared and blocked in front of Lin Ling. These people's auras were similar. However, their strength wasn't weak either. All of them had the strength of a martial god. Moreover, their talents were also among the ranks of divine fetuses. As for whether they were Xiantian or acquired, Lin Ling couldn't clearly check. However, he could feel that these people's divine fetuses were all the same. This also made Lin Ling secretly surprised. This spirit nation was really powerful. To be able to cultivate all its people into divine fetuses, it was undoubtedly much stronger than the other 9 states' 10 evils. Who are you? The leader was a man of about 40 years old. At this moment, he stared at Lin Ling and spoke in a dignified manner. His gaze seemed to be able to see through Lin Ling as he constantly checked Lin Ling's aura. At their level of strength, most of the time, they didn't care about appearances. This was because everyone knew that appearances could be changed. Therefore, Lin Ling's appearance only changed slightly. What changed was his aura. He lightly said, "Someone from the spirit nation." Chapter 4102. Exposed. Of course, Lin Ling's reply was extremely calm, causing their suspicions to be dispelled slightly. You didn't see a man and 2 women. They are different from the people of the spirit nation. They are spies. Then, the leader said indifferently. No, but I'm looking for them too. Lin Ling replied instantly. Seemed like he wasn't the only one who had infiltrated the spirit nation. There were others as well. And these people were plundering with such great fanfare, it was obvious that they were looking for those people. However, with them distracting the spirit nation, it would be much easier for Lin Ling to sneak in. Remember, if you see anyone suspicious, report it immediately. After sizing up Lin Ling once more, the man in the lead also prepared to ride his horse and leave. You know how to notify us, don't you? The others also left with the man, but someone smiled at Lin Ling. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Without another word, he continued onward. Wait. However, the person who spoke earlier suddenly shouted, I asked you if you knew how to inform us. Why are you so rude to me? Did the spirit nation not tell you how to bow to your superior? Lin Ling was speechless for a while. He knew that he had met a tyrant. I understand, my lord. It was my fault. Lin Ling hurriedly put on an act and bowed, causing that expert to snort coldly. Finally, he didn't care about it anymore. Wait. However, just as Lin Ling was about to leave, another voice sounded. Fuck. At this moment, Lin Ling couldn't help but curse inwardly. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to alert the enemy, he would have already killed this group of people. Do you know how to inform us? This time, the one who spoke was actually the man in the lead. The man seemed to have realized that something was wrong. Tell me the method and use it. He shouted sternly and looked at Lin Ling viciously. As long as Lin Ling could use the method to inform them, then he would be able to confirm whether Lin Ling was one of them or not. Lin Ling's face was still calm, but his heart was even more depressed. How to inform them? What the hell does he know? You're really bold. The adults are asking you a question and you don't answer. However, I've long disliked you. When you meet us adults, you're always like a taciturn gourd. Now, you've become a taciturn gourd again. Are you a newcomer or are you an idiot? The man who had interrupted Lin Ling earlier, the man who interrupted him, he didn't realize that Lin Ling was too calm, and that he was being disrespectful to them. Immediately, the man in's Lin's is Lin Ling Lin. But this meant he, is in his hand, the Bodhi-proof divine skill appeared and clashed with the man. Boom! The man's arm was broken, and his face changed. You're the most annoying one. Lin Ling was really unhappy with this man. If not for his nagging, Lin Ling would have already entered the city. Therefore, his right palm glowed with Bodhi red light and landed heavily on the man's head. Bang! The man's head exploded, and he fell to the ground. He couldn't be more dead. The entire process of Lin Ling killing him took only a breath's time. Only then did the others react. "You're not from the Spirit Nation," they all shouted. However, Lin Ling didn't have time to waste on them. His transcendence realm erupted, and the dark sword appeared in his right hand. He looked at the nearest person and slashed. Another person was killed. In Lin Ling's left hand, a golden tornado was brewing. "You've hidden yourself well. If not for my fiery eyes of truth, I would have been fooled by you." The man in the lead also shouted angrily. Moreover, he was furious because he had actually encountered a spy. "Where did your fiery eyes of truth come from? If not for that idiot blocking me, I would have already entered the Spirit Light City." Lin Ling only had disdain for the man's words. Then, the flames in his left hand fell to the ground. Great earth blaze. Boom! Golden flames ignited in the ice field, causing the 10,000-year mysterious ice to continue melting. The dozen people in the golden flames couldn't resist, and they groaned in pain as they were burned. With Lin Ling's current strength, there weren't many people in the martial god realm who could stop him. What powerful strength! You have the innate godly embryo. I didn't expect the Spirit Nation to attract a few innate godly embryos today. Who are you people? The man in the lead rode a large horse and charged towards Lin Ling. In his hand, a large white saber appeared and he slashed down from the sky. The power of the innate godly embryo exploded. He also had the innate godly embryo. It was no wonder that he could become the leader of a small team. At the same time, the horse neighed. When the leader leaped, the mystical horse was trampled to death because of his great strength. Clang! However, Lin Ling didn't even look up. He crossed his swords and blocked the attack. The white broadsword slashed down and was blocked by the two swords. Crack! 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 With Lin Ling as the center, terrifying cracks immediately spread out. The entire ice field looked like it was about to collapse. What powerful strength! However, you're not the only one with the innate godly embryo. Lin Ling still maintained his crossed swords. After a cold shout, the light of Bodhi appeared on the two swords and repelled the attack. Whoosh! The man immediately flew backward and landed on the ground. He looked at Lin Ling seriously. He had never imagined that this youth would be so formidable. One had to know that he possessed the divine embryo body. Even in the 9 states, he was an existence that could sweep through the winds and clouds. Yet, this youth that he had randomly encountered had blocked his divine embryo slash. Rank 8 martial god realm, innate godly embryo, and it seems to be related to light. Lin Ling held his sword and looked at the man calmly as he spoke. Who are you? Why are you so powerful? What's your purpose here? The man said coldly. He looked around and saw that the golden flames were still burning his people. It seemed that he could only rely on himself. You have the 7 strands of divine strength. Lin Ling didn't answer his question. Instead, he spoke again. That's right. You seem to be in the initial stage of the martial god realm. My cultivation level is higher than yours, and my divine strength is comparable to yours. However, my cultivation level is obviously higher. According to my strength, I'm ranked in the top 100 on the stairway to heaven. Are you afraid now? The man sneered. Afraid? Upon hearing this, Lin Ling shook his head and said, with your strength, I'm not afraid of you. What a joke. Do you think you're ranked first on the stairway to heaven? The man sneered. The saber in his hand buzzed and released divine power. He pointed the tip of his saber at Lin Ling and a fierce divine strength immediately gushed out. However, before he could do anything, Lin Ling had already attacked. Chapter 4103. Assimilation. His feet stomped on the ground, causing the icy soil deep underground to crack. His two swords crossed, and the divine power of the true inheritance nether sword and the Bodhi testimony divine art surged out. Clang! Lin Ling's speed was too fast, causing the man to only be able to temporarily block, but after the collision, the man immediately felt that Lin Ling's sword was incomparably ferocious. He only has 3 strands of divine force. Why is he so powerful? Isn't he an early martial god? Suspicion also rose in the man's heart. But at this moment, Lin Ling's sword pressed down, bending his saber. This was because at this moment, Lin Ling had already infused the 3 strands of divinity from the lightning lock physique into his swords. Chi! Chi! The man's saber was suppressed like a bow, and it also made a sound like it was about to collapse. Who is this person? Why is he so strong? The man couldn't remain calm any longer because he hadn't expected that the young man would become stronger as the battle progressed. You can't do whatever you want in the territory of the spirit nation. Then, the man shouted angrily and activated all of his divine power, 3rd layer spirit degree. White light surged from his saber, and 3 saber shadows appeared. Furthermore, each saber's shadow contained the fatal power of a god. I'm sorry to tell you that although you have a divine embryo body, you can't compare to me in terms of the nobility of a divine embryo. What you have is just a gift from someone else. At this moment, Lin Ling also spoke calmly. His innate talents fused together and went all out, suppressing all the power that the man had just unleashed. Clang! At the same time, the man's saber broke. The 2 swords carried a brilliant light as they passed through the broken saber and slashed open his body, causing a crisscrossing sword mark to appear on the man's body. It was a shocking sight. Moreover, the hard icy rain soil on the icy plains had been reduced to fine powder by the ripples created by Lin Ling's 2 swords. It was just that the people on the icy plains were unable to sense this kind of power. Who are you? The man looked at the sword wounds on his body and knew that he was definitely going to die. However, he still gritted his teeth and asked. Trial taker. Lin Ling said softly and turned to leave. Swoosh. After Lin Ling finished speaking, the man was also divided into 4 pieces. The people in the surroundings were still resisting the flames. Most of them had already been assimilated by the flames of the human monarch, but they didn't commit suicide. The reason for this was that if they were resurrected after committing suicide, their strength would be greatly reduced. On the contrary, if they were resurrected after being killed by others, their strength would increase. Coupled with the fact that their leader was extremely confident, they saw the light of victory. That was why they didn't choose to commit suicide. Instead, they waited for their leader to win. Of course, this kind of confidence was just an illusion. When they were about to collapse, not only did their leader not win, he was killed in a few moves. Hurry up and commit suicide. After regaining their senses, they began to prepare to commit suicide. But it was clearly too late, because the human king's flame had already completely assimilated them. I can't commit suicide. Why isn't my hand slitting my throat? Instead, you're slapping my face. After being assimilated by the human king's flame, not only their bodies, but even their Jia Qi was controlled by Lin Ling. This caused them to stand there like roosters in the rain, looking at each other. They couldn't commit suicide or resist. In the end, they could only stare bitterly at Lin Ling who was walking over. Their eyes continued to struggle, and in the end, it turned into worship. Sir. They all knelt down at the same time. Lin Ling looked at them in astonishment. In his opinion, the people of Spirit Nation were very difficult to assimilate because at the crucial moment, they would commit suicide. Then, a force would be born in their bodies to prevent the assimilation. But now, this group of people was easily assimilated? Were they idiots? What happened? You, stand up and speak. Lin Ling was a little cautious, so he pointed at one person and asked. That person could only speak out his previous thoughts. After he finished speaking, that person's face was also filled with bitterness. Lin Ling was instantly speechless. They were indeed idiots. Release your powers and let me check it out. Following that, Lin Ling ordered. Boom! Boom! Everyone activated their Jia Qi and allowed Lin Ling to investigate. Lin Ling discovered that their talents were incomparable to the man from before. They were acquired divine fetuses. However, such divine fetuses were only slightly stronger than the ultimate desolate body. There was no possibility of them awakening divine might. This meant that they were only fake gods. Divine fetuses were also half fake. However, with the means to nurture gods, this spirit nation was much more powerful than imagined. Tell me the rules of your spirit nation. Following that, Lin Ling spoke again. He had originally planned to try his luck and sneak into spirit nation. Who knew that he would encounter this group of people? Therefore, he could easily control them and would not miss such an opportunity. Hearing this, those people scrambled to speak. They were afraid that if they were a step slower, they would not be valued by the human king. As he listened quietly, Lin Ling was also familiar with Spirit Nation's rules. However, these people were not clear about the person behind the scenes in Spirit Nation. They only knew that a god would be resurrected here. That was all there was to it. Do you know Nine Lantern Fish, Lu Chen? Lin Ling asked again. Yes, he is imprisoned in the city with the leader of the Serpent Clan. Everyone from the Genesis Alliance is also there. However, the leader of the Serpent Clan is already dead. That's right. He rejected the Spirit Nation's invitation and was executed. Hearing these people's words, Lin Ling's eyes narrowed. He thought of the man who had transformed into a giant serpent in the ancient dragon wasteland. Although Lin Ling did not have a close relationship with him, he and Lin Ling were once allies. Clenching his fists tightly, Lin Ling looked coldly at the Spirit Nation in the distance. However, he suppressed his anger in the end. This was because he knew that he was weak and could not fight against Spirit Nation. In Spirit Nation, only gods could suppress them. Therefore, Lin Ling wanted to save the Genesis Alliance and the remaining Serpent Clan. Take me in. I want to save them. Next, Lin Ling revealed his purpose. However, it also shocked the group of people. This was because they knew that this was an extremely difficult task. However, they had been assimilated by the human king's flame. Therefore, they were not worried about themselves. Instead, they were worried about Lin Ling. My lord, why don't we go and save them? You stay outside the city. Yes, this trip will definitely succeed. They said as if they were asking for credit. Their words also made Lin Ling sigh inwardly. The human king's flame was indeed terrifying. After being assimilated, they were originally enemies, but now they were loyal and devoted. This matter is of great importance. I will go personally. However, Lin Ling was obviously not at ease with them. He was not afraid that they would betray him, but he thought that they did not have the ability to save people. Chapter 4104. He went that way. The magnificent Spirit Light City was like a city of ice crystals. Spirit Light soared into the sky from the city. As they approached the Spirit Light City, even more white-clothed people appeared in the surroundings. They seemed to be patrolling something. Who was it that barged in before me? Lin Ling suddenly thought of something and hurriedly asked. My lord, there were 3 people who barged in. Their whereabouts are unknown and their identities are unclear. However, we can confirm that they are still alive. Now, the Spirit Nation is waiting for Lord Biyau's return to make a decision. Someone behind him immediately replied. The corners of Lin Ling's mouth curled into a smile when he heard this. He guessed that the 3 of them were probably participants of the trial, and one of them was the person that had framed him, Lin Ling. After all, without Lin Ling as bait, the 3 of them would probably be utterly unable to enter the city. Therefore, Lin Ling was very curious about the person who framed him. Who was so bold? If Lin Ling had the chance to meet him, he would definitely not let him go. Along the way, a huge ice door appeared in front of him. There were white-clothed people quickly going in and out of the ice door. Lin Ling also ignored them and entered the ice door. However, just as he reached the ice door, a blinding light shot from all directions, instantly freezing Lin Ling. Of course, Lin Ling did not resist. Looking at the people behind Lin Ling, they were also frozen into ice sculptures. However, their eyes flashed and they spat out a few incantations. When the incantations formed by world essence shone out, the ice that froze them instantly shattered. Next, Lin Ling and the rest entered the Spirit Light City. It was obvious that the white mist ice was used to test if they were from the Spirit Kingdom. Since they were not from the Spirit Nation, they did not know the Spirit Nation's mantra. In the end, they could only be frozen in the ice-sealed door. Next, they would attract the attention of the Spirit Nation. Although Lin Ling was not from the Spirit Kingdom, he was already very familiar with the rules of the Spirit Kingdom through the explanations of those people. After entering Spirit Light City, Lin Ling's greatest impression was that this place was very bright. Under the illumination of the light, the buildings formed from ice shined brightly. The light rays constantly reflected off the ice, making it extremely dazzling. Those who were weak could also be blinded by the light. Looking ahead, this Spirit Light City was not much different from an ordinary ancient city. There were restaurants and inns, and there were quite a few people. The only difference was that those people were not from the Spirit Nation. They were from the 9 states' 10 evils. Head to Senior Lu Chen's place immediately. Lin Ling instructed the people behind him. My lord, the place where Senior Lu Chen is at is very close to where the great god of Spirit Nation is descending. We must be careful. Someone cautiously said from behind. Then, they led the way. Lin Ling nodded his head. His soul force quietly spread out in all directions. Seeing that no one was paying attention to them, he immediately moved forward. Along the way, they naturally met many people in white. Unfortunately, Lin Ling did not say much. Boundary essence appeared in his mouth and he spat out incantations. Those strange incantations floated in the air, causing those who met them to immediately bow. This was because these were incantations that represented one's identity. In the eyes of those people in white, Lin Ling was a captain-level figure. Lin Ling coldly walked forward, full of majesty. All of you, get over here. Then, he pointed at a few people in white and said, go and bring a few spiritual horses over. Damn it, how dare you order me around? Don't be rash, that's the captain of 100 men. Those people were very unhappy at first. However, after seeing Lin Ling's identity, they immediately went to pull the horses. After that, they said with a flattering face, my lord, what can I do for you? Just say the word, and I will go through water and tread on fire. They obviously knew that in the Spirit Nation, the higher one's status was, the more likely they would meet the great god of the Spirit Nation. The person in front of them had a high status. All of you, get the hell away from me. Lin Ling said domineeringly. Those people were so scared that they ran far away. What a joke, he was going to break out of prison. How could he let these people of the Spirit Nation help him? Then, Lin Ling led the people behind him and swaggered forward on their horses. The reason why he wanted a horse was that he would need it to save Senior Lu Chen later. Even if it was not useful, it would save some energy. My lord, we're almost there. As they moved forward, the people behind Lin Ling secretly transmitted their voices to him. However, at this moment, a loud voice suddenly came from behind, catch them. Then, the street behind them squirmed, and a large number of powerful people's auras burst out. My lord, this is bad. Seeing this, the people behind Lin Ling suddenly turned pale. Don't panic. However, Lin Ling was still calm. He sat on the spiritual horse and looked into the distance. On the main street, 2 figures sped past at the speed of 5,000 world boundaries. Those who were not strong would not be able to detect them at all. However, When they saw Lin Ling's group stop at the crossroads, the two mysterious men in white instantly changed their expressions. They were prepared for a big battle, but Lin Ling's group remained motionless, as if they were stone statues. The two people were obviously dumbfounded. "Sister Long, are these people blind?" one of them said in disbelief. Judging from the voice, it seemed to be a woman's voice. "It's him." The other person was even more incredulous and stared at Lin Ling. Of course, when the sound behind them got closer and closer, they couldn't care less. They looked around and hid in an empty house on the side of the street. That house seemed to be used to store 10,000 years mysterious ice, so it was suitable for hiding. As soon as they disappeared, a large number of people in white chased after them. When they saw Lin Ling and his people, they were surprised. "My lord, did you see two people running past here?" One of them immediately bowed to Lin Ling. "Two people? I saw them. What's wrong?" Lin Ling said calmly. Why didn't my lord catch them?" "They are not from Spirit Nation. They are spies." Hearing Lin Ling's words, the group of experts suddenly narrowed their eyes. They had encountered spies, but this lord was so calm. Could it be that he was just watching a show? Bastard, how did the lord know that they were spies? Also, what right do you have for the lord to catch them? Who the fuck do you think you are? Someone behind Lin Ling immediately scolded. "It's our fault." The group lowered their heads. They had seen Lin Ling leading a small team and naturally knew that Lin Ling's status was not low. Someone then smiled and said, "Then where did those two people run off to?" Sigh, they were one of the three people who had infiltrated Spirit Light City. "We must catch them." As he said this, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He then quietly swept his gaze across the empty house not too far away. He could vaguely see one of the people making a shushing gesture at him. Most importantly, that person was very young and looked like a little girl. They went that way. Chapter 4105. Goodbye, Long Yang. Over there? Sir, are you sure? Yes. However, who knew that the group of people in front of Lin Ling were all startled, looking very suspicious. Someone even laughed bitterly. "Sir, that is where the Spirit Marasi is." In other words, it is the latrine. Yes. Of course I know, but they did run in that direction. I say, you are too lazy. Don't tell me that because it stinks, you don't want to chase them. Are you really from the Spirit Nation? Yes. Lin Ling was also surprised. He had casually pointed and it was where the Spirit Marasi was. Of course, he was surprised in his heart, but on the surface, he was still dignified and angry. Sir is right. Yes. Go and search. Search any piece of horse dung and find those two spies. Yes. After being scolded by Lin Ling, the group of people did not dare to be negligent. After shouting, they immediately went to the horse dung area to find the spies. Watching the group of people walk further and further away, Lin Ling looked at the empty room in the distance and said lightly, "They have all left, come out." Yes. After a while, the two people finally walked out. However, one of them had a face full of disbelief and said in surprise, "Why are you helping us? Aren't you from the Spirit Nation?" Yes. As she spoke, she also took off her disguise. Indeed, she was a little girl, about 15 or 16 years old. She looked quite cute. He is not from the Spirit Nation. He is Lei Gong's trial taker, Lin Ling. Yes. However, the other person recognized Lin Ling and also took off her disguise, revealing a beautiful face and a cold temperament. Lin Ling was stunned and said in surprise, "Long Yang?" Yes. He could not help but be shocked. Could it be that the three people who had infiltrated Spirit Light City were Long Yang and this little girl? Long Yang also stared coldly at Lin Ling. In the depths of her eyes, there was a trace of killing intent. Then, she walked towards Lin Ling. She was tall and slender, with beautiful curves, a slender waist, and 2 straight jade-like legs. Beneath the white shirt and pants, her legs exuded a seductive charm. However, her temperament was extremely cold. Lin Ling, he's actually Lin Ling. As for the little girl beside Longyang, her face was full of shock. She had obviously heard of Lin Ling's name before. However, she did not expect that Lin Ling would appear here and transform into someone from the spirit nation. Most importantly, he could command people from other spirit nations. This was too amazing. One had to know that they were also part of the trial challengers who had infiltrated the spirit nation. However, they had been chased down for 9 streets while Lin Ling was still strutting forward. Longyang, do you know him? Then, the little girl looked at Longyang in surprise. She had also met Longyang during a trial mission. At that time, Longyang had saved her. Therefore, after a few times, her relationship with Longyang was not shallow. Hearing this, Longyang did not speak. She continued to stare coldly at Lin Ling. This caused the little girl to stare at Longyang and then at Lin Ling. In an instant, she had guessed something. My mortal enemy. At this time, Longyang finally spoke coldly. Her voice was filled with thick killing intent. That's right, the kind that won't rest until one of us is dead. Lin Ling rode on the spirit horse and replied indifferently. However, he also smiled. Thank you for your help last time. He was naturally referring to the incident at Heaven Pass City. At that time, Longyang had helped Lin Ling to stop City Lord Xiao so that Lin Ling could escape. No need to thank me. I just don't want to owe anyone a favor. Now, we're even. The next time we fight, it's either you die or I die. Longyang snorted coldly. Next to her, the little girl secretly gasped. This was because Longyang's personality was not that cold. On the contrary, she was very easy to talk to and had a good relationship with many people. However, when faced with Lin Ling, Longyang's attitude had clearly changed. That's exactly what I was thinking. Lin Ling nodded. He could sense that Longyang's gaze towards him was filled with undisguised killing intent. He could not help but sigh. This was because he, Lin Ling, had many enemies in his life. However, most of them were eventually surpassed by Lin Ling and killed by Lin Ling. However, Longyang was an exception. She was a terrifying genius. Not only was she not surpassed by Lin Ling by much, but she was also improving at a godly speed. Sometimes, Lin Ling almost could not help but want to attack and kill Longyang right now. However, in the end, he held himself back. It was not that he liked Longyang, but he could not bear to see a genius like Longyang fall in his hands. I didn't expect that you, the disciple of martial god Wen Tian last time, would become a trial taker now. I wonder which god you're following. Lin Ling then smiled. Eugene. Longyang did not hide anything because she knew that Lin Ling would find out sooner or later. Lin Ling's eyes flickered when he heard Longyang's words. He instantly guessed that it was because of Luli Empress because he knew that the god behind Luli Empress was Eugene. As for Longyang, she was once martial god Wen Tian's disciple and was related to Luli Empress. Perhaps Luli Empress was interested in something about her, so she was trying to pull strings for her. This woman is really terrifying. I've become the heavenly voice of the gods, and she's become a trial taker. I'm afraid it won't be long before she becomes the heavenly voice of the gods too. Lin Ling's heart became heavier. Of course, he also admired Longyang. By the way, why are you so embarrassed to be hunted down? Lin Ling suddenly thought of something and asked curiously. Although he was not familiar with the little girl, he knew that Longyang was a woman who would do anything to achieve her goals. She had once used her beauty to make a fool of some rich young masters. Therefore, Lin Ling was very confused. With Longyang's intelligence, she should not have been seen through so easily. It's that guy, that bastard. At this time, the little girl cursed angrily. Then, she saw that Lin Ling was even more suspicious. She explained, he's a trial taker from the Titanic Crescent God. That guy is really bad. In order to sneak into the Spirit Palace, he betrayed us and used us as bait to attract the attention of the Spirit Nation. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes turned cold as he thought of the guy who had set him up. What's his name? Lin Ling immediately asked. We don't know either. However, the little girl shook her head and said. It seemed that they only knew that the other party was a trial taker and were not familiar with anything else. Lin Ling, you're considered our elder. Why don't you help us? At this time, Longyang suddenly smiled at Lin Ling. It was completely different from the coldness from before. Instead, it was more charming. This also made Lin Ling's heart turn cold. He suddenly remembered that Longyang usually used this kind of charm to attract those rich young masters. Now, Longyang was doing this to Lin Ling, so there must be a purpose. How can I help you? Lin Ling suddenly smiled. Bring us into the Spirit Palace because we have a mission to complete. So, if you don't help us, who will? Chapter 4106. Long Talk. Lin Ling sneered in his heart when he saw the two beauties trying to flatter him. He wouldn't fall for it. Little girl, you should be from the Kurishin side. As far as I know, the Kurishin treat their own people very well, so I guess that the Kurishin will not drive you away. Lin Ling said calmly as he shook his head. His words caused the little girl's expression to freeze as she felt somewhat embarrassed. As for Longyang, I don't know what your mission is, but I guess that your mission has something to do with being a scout. Now, you should have roughly figured out the origin of the Spirit Kingdom, so it has nothing to do with the Spirit Palace. The reason why you want to go in is that there is something there that attracts you. You. Longyang gritted her teeth, and her eyes flashed with killing intent once again. Yo, you've returned to your original state so quickly. How disappointing. I thought you would flatter me to the end. Lin Ling smiled again. Senior Lin Ling, you are really smart. Yes, the Spirit Palace does have what we want, but we really can't get in. You seem to be able to deceive the people of the Spirit Nation, so if you lead the way, it will be much more convenient. Longyang was indeed scheming. She had shown killing intent before, but in the blink of an eye, she smiled like a shy girl. Of course, if you don't take us in, we will be sad. At that time, no one can guarantee that your identity won't be exposed. Her last sentence was laced with a hint of menace. Then go ahead and expose yourself. I want to see who will believe you. However, Lin Ling didn't mind. He shrugged. Bastard. Longyang cursed in her heart. She already knew that it was impossible to take advantage of Lin Ling. Lin Ling might seem reckless and impulsive at times, but most of the time, he was as cunning as a fox. Tell me, is this Spirit Nation related to the will of the world? If you're right, I might consider helping you. Seeing that Longyang was so angry, Lin Ling said again. You're so despicable. We risked our lives to find out the information, and in the end, you snatched it away with just one sentence. Longyang said angrily. Then you can refuse. I'm not begging you. Lin Ling shrugged indifferently, then said to the people behind him, let's go, let's continue forward. You have guts. Seeing this, Longyang finally compromised. She gritted her teeth and said, according to our investigation, the deity behind this Spirit Nation is the host body of a world will. That's all we know. Host. Lin Ling's pupils constricted. Naturally, he knew what a host body was. The girl he met at the Kaiyuan River, Shaoluan, was also a host body. The one he saw in the Dragon Valley was also a host body, but it had been sealed by the Dragon Tribe. Now, the god behind the scenes of Spirit Nation was also a host? You know about hosts? However, Longyang and the others obviously did not know much about hosts. Seeing the change in Lin Ling's expression, they immediately asked curiously. It's also the first time I've heard of it. But how can you be sure that the deity behind the scenes of Spirit Nation is the host body of the world will? Lin Ling did not intend to talk about the host body, so he asked in return. In the Spirit Palace, there is a totem of the world will. That totem has the power of the world will. We have all seen the world will, so we have guessed. Moreover, there are many ancient portraits in the Spirit Palace. From the portraits, we can see that the host body seems to be used as a sacrifice to the world will. Longmiang explained. In that case, Spirit Nation is indeed related to the world will. Then, my mission as a scout is completed. Lin Ling nodded, then looked at Longmiang and said, You have already entered the Spirit Palace once. Why do you want to enter again? After being asked by Lin Ling, Longmiang and the little girl were suddenly put in a difficult position. However, after looking at each other, they finally came to a decision. It's because of the Jialan spiritual flower. Longmiang said. What's that? Let's put it this way. It's a spiritual flower that can enhance the talent of the divine fetus. After hearing Longmiang's explanation, Lin Ling was shocked. This was because he knew very well how powerful the divine fetus was. With the help of the Jialan spiritual flower, the acquired divine fetus can advance to the inborn stage. Not long ago, when Little South and I were searching the Spirit Palace, we saw a large number of Jialan spiritual flowers in one of the palaces. At that time, we were very surprised. However, later on, the trial taker betrayed us, causing us to have to run away. Moreover, it suddenly occurred to me that the people of Spirit Nation all have the divine fetus body. Perhaps this has something to do with the Jialan spiritual flower. Yes, Senior Lin Ling, it is said that the Jialan spiritual flower only appeared on Jialan Island during the era of the gods. It was also extremely precious during the era of the gods. Longmiang and the little girl said one after another. Hearing this, Lin Ling's eyes also became heated. It would be a lie to say that he was not tempted. Although he seemed to be very powerful, in the trial taker's world, his strength was only below average. Lin Ling was no match for the leader of the 9 states' 10 evils. Take us in and then we'll divide the treasures equally. At this time, Longmiang said again. She seemed to know that Lin Ling would agree. Okay, but after this, you have to help me save someone. Although Lin Ling wanted to save Senior Lu Chen immediately, he now knew that Senior Lu Chen was not in serious danger at the moment. If he went to save Senior Lu Chen, it would inevitably cause a great disturbance in Spirit Nation. At that time, it would be difficult for him to get close to the Jialan spiritual flower. Therefore, the most important thing right now was the treasure. You're so cunning. Seeing Lin Ling raising the price, Longmiang could not help but scold him. Thank you for the compliment. Now, do you agree or not? However, when Lin Ling was thick-skinned, he was also afraid of himself. Therefore, he did not mind and said, We agree. Longmiang had no choice but to nod. Lin Ling believed in Longmiang's credibility. After all, this crazy woman was willing to go against City Governor Shao in order not to owe him a favor. This showed that Longmiang was also a person with principles. Then, let's set off immediately. Then, the little girl clapped her hands excitedly. Lin Ling asked them to put on white clothes and stand beside him. Then, he led everyone to the Spirit Palace. From now on, you are my subordinates. Riding on the spirit horse, Lin Ling said casually to the 2 beauties beside him. The little girl named Little South giggled. She did not mind Lin Ling's joking words. Instead, she said respectfully, Yes, my lord. Looking at Longmiang, she was furious. This was because she had been competing with Lin Ling. Now, she was going to be Lin Ling's subordinate? This was a disgrace to her. By the way, Little South, do you know Shaoluan? While moving forward, Lin Ling suddenly thought of the little girl he met at the Kaiyuan River. Yes, she has always been by Grandpa Hei's side. Little South laughed immediately. Is she okay? Did the Kurishin bully her? How is her cultivation now? Chapter 4107. Domineering to open the way. I can't answer all of your questions at once. However, little sister Xiaoluan is very good. The Kurishin dotes on her a lot. I remember last year, when the Kurishin brought her to meet other gods, a trial taker said something out of turn. In the end, the Kurishin beat up the trial taker right in front of that god. Little South immediately said. That's great. Hearing that the Kurishin spoiled Xiaoluan so much, Lin Ling was completely relieved. Hey, why are you blabbering on and on? If we're exposed and ruin our plans, we won't let you off. Longmiang said angrily. Hearing this, Lin Ling smiled faintly and stopped talking. This made Longmiang feel much better. It didn't take long for the spirit palace to appear in front of them. The so-called spirit palace was actually a huge ice palace. It was made of 10,000-year-old mysterious ice. As they approached the ice palace, they could feel a bone-piercing chill. Even Lin Ling had to resist the chill that penetrated his soul. There was also a large number of white-robed people at the entrance of the ice palace. Judging from their strength, they were not weak. They all had divine embryos. Hurry up. Currently, the experts of the spiritual light city have all left. However, it won't be long before they return. At this moment, Lin Ling also exhorted. He knew that the 9 prefectures' 10 evils and the woman in white were still searching for him, Lin Ling, but this search would not last for long. Do you really think you're an adult? At present, whether or not we can enter the spirit palace is still unknown. Hearing Lin Ling's words, Longmiang snorted coldly. Upon hearing this, Lin Ling still did not say much. He led the crowd to the gate of the spirit palace, where a large number of people in white were patrolling, and a powerful aura emanated from them. Of course, when Lin Ling and the rest walked over, all the people in white also looked over indifferently. At this moment, Longmiang and the others were also quietly nervous. Because these people in white weren't weak. If there was only one of them, they wouldn't be afraid, but there were too many of them. The white-robed Spirit Kingdom experts didn't say anything. They only looked at Lin Ling as if they were searching for everyone. Something's not right. Yeah, those two look familiar. They seem to be spies. Soon, a few people whispered. Although their words were not heard by Longmiang and the others, looking at their cautious appearance, Longmiang and the others were even more nervous. The sounds of discussion gradually grew louder and louder. In the end, the group of experts from the Spirit Kingdom seemed as if they were facing a formidable enemy. You are not from the Spirit Nation. Finally, someone let out a stern shout. Next, everyone released powerful boundary essence and surrounded Lin Ling and the others. Oh no, they really recognized us. It's mainly because they've been chasing us for too long, so they're familiar with us. Longmiang and the others also knew that things were getting troublesome. Catch them. At this moment, the other side finally made their move. Little South, use all your strength to break out of the encirclement. I'll hold them back. Follow the previous method and regroup. Remember, don't hesitate. Once I make my move, break out immediately. Got it, Long Jia. Longmiang and the others quietly gathered their strength, ready to fight to the death. However, just as the first person was about to pounce over, a figure suddenly leaped past them and stood in front of that person to block her path. What are you doing? The man was naturally shocked. Slap. Unfortunately, what greeted him was a ruthless slap that broke his teeth. What am I doing? Playing a battle between the gods? Isn't it fun? The person who attacked was incomparably arrogant as he roared angrily. This shout had undoubtedly intimidated all of the white-robed men. You! As for the man in white who had his teeth broken, he was naturally unwilling to accept this as he glared fiercely at the newcomer. Slap! Another slap was thrown, landing on the man in white's face and breaking his nose. What about me? Have you grown so bold? The newcomer roared angrily again. You're a spy too. The man in white whose nose was broken said coldly. However, the newcomer did not say much. The corner of his mouth moved and he spat out some strange words, causing the eyes of all the people in white to tremble violently. Then, all of them bowed. This was because they knew that it was the Spirit Nation's mantra. This meant that the newcomer's identity and strength were not to be underestimated. Are you done being crazy? Seeing everyone bow, the newcomer's voice boomed like thunder, causing everyone's hearts to tremble. If it was said that they had previously suspected that this lord was also a spy, then that suspicion had now disappeared without a trace. This was because the newcomer knew their Spirit Nation's mantra. More importantly, the newcomer was too domineering, directly scolding and beating them like dogs. However, the more this was the case, the more it proved the newcomer's authenticity. Sir, they're spies. After everyone bowed, someone immediately raised his head and said, "Who said they're spies? They're my people. Do you have a pair of dog eyes? You casually saw two people and called them spies. I'm a spy, your whole family." Another loud curse boomed out, and these people were scolded until their heads were bleeding. "Get lost, I want to enter the Spirit Palace." Then, the domineering man roared angrily. Everyone was in a difficult position. Firstly, the Spirit Palace was a matter of great importance, and ordinary people were not allowed to enter. Secondly, the spies seemed to be right in front of them. "Sir, I'm afraid this will be difficult because it will make it difficult for us to explain ourselves," someone said nervously with a troubled look on his face. When he saw this, the domineering man didn't say anything and just walked over. Along with his footsteps, all the white-clothed figures lowered their heads and remained silent. Moreover, they felt extremely oppressed in their hearts. It was as if the heavy footsteps were stomping on their hearts. Finally, the man appeared in front of the person who spoke. "Tremble." The person in white was trembling and did not dare to raise his head. "Look at me." However, the man said calmly. In the end, the person in white did not dare to resist and slowly raised his head. Slap. A slap that was crisper than before rang out and sent the person flying, crashing into the wall of the Crystal Palace. "Did I ask you to explain yourselves? What right do you have to explain yourselves?" The domineering voice floated out at the right time. Longyang and Little South were tongue-tied because they could see that the domineering man was Lin Ling. Previously, they had already planned to break through with all their might, but now it seemed that they had underestimated Lin Ling. Especially Longyang, she was shocked and embarrassed. She was shocked that Lin Ling actually had such means. He was obviously more successful as a spy than they were. When they saw the strong people of the Spirit Nation, they could only run. But what about Lin Ling? He directly slapped the other party in the face and made them not dare to speak. As for the embarrassment, it was because she had reprimanded Lin Ling and told Lin Ling not to ruin things. Chapter 4108. A Mysterious Portrait. Get out of my way. At that moment, Lin Ling kicked the white-robed man in front of him away, then led everyone into the Spirit Palace. "My lord, this is no small matter." Seeing that Lin Ling was about to enter the Spirit Palace, everyone was making their final struggle. "Your statuses are not equal to mine. You are not qualified to speak to me." However, Lin Ling continued to walk forward. His words were full of disdain. In the end, the people in white could only watch as Lin Ling and the others entered the Spirit Palace. "Senior Lin Ling, you're too amazing." After entering the Spirit Palace, Little South couldn't help but look at Lin Ling with admiration. So. Lin Ling touched his nose and suddenly looked at Longyang with a hint of mockery. Longyang naturally sensed the mocking gaze. She was so angry that she gritted her teeth and sulked in silence. However, Lin Ling didn't have time to care about them because he knew that he didn't have much time left. "Go to that palace immediately," Lin Ling said to Longyang and the others. Longyang and the others also quickly nodded. Although Longyang and Lin Ling were enemies, at least for now, they were partners. Then, according to their memories, they led Lin Ling and the others forward. The spirit palace was an important place, so there weren't many people in white there. The few people who were scattered around naturally couldn't stop Lin Ling. We're almost there. After passing through this hall, we just need to walk through 2 more corridors. After an unknown amount of time, Longyang led Lin Ling to a hall. A large number of portraits were engraved on the walls of this hall. If one looked carefully, they were telling the story of the host body being sacrificed. On the wall in the center of the hall, a black square was engraved there. The square was about 5 meters in radius. The inside of the square was pitch black, and it was completely black. Just from the outside, one couldn't see anything. However, if one sensed it carefully, one would discover the power of the world's will. Lin Ling had already come into contact with many warriors who had been possessed by the world's will. Naturally, he was very familiar with that power. It seems that the spirit nation is really related to the world's will. Lin Ling nodded secretly. Next, he moved forward again. However, just as he was about to leave, he found a portrait in the corner. The portrait of a man whose face couldn't be seen clearly. He was standing on an altar with his hands open. Below the altar, countless people were kneeling. Moreover, in the portrait, when they were kneeling, wisps of gas floated towards the man. Looking at the side of the portrait, there was another portrait. However, the man in the portrait quietly condensed his facial features. Moreover, he was smiling. Senior Lin Ling, these 2 portraits are very evil. Let's leave immediately. Little South could not help but whisper when she saw Lin Ling staring at the 2 portraits. How is it evil? Lin Ling asked curiously. I can't explain it clearly. However, I keep feeling that the portrait is alive. It's staring at us and smiling. It knows our every move. Little South said with a frown. Her words stunned Lin Ling. Little South can become a trial taker. She has her own abilities. Sometimes, her words are very accurate. At this moment, Longyang stopped at the exit of the hall and said lightly. Lin Ling suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He looked at the 2 portraits again and then left without stopping. However, although he left the hall, Lin Ling still had the 2 portraits in his mind. It was as if he could not get rid of them. However, at this moment, a fierce voice sounded in Lin Ling's ears. Wake up. This voice was like a giant hammer that fiercely smashed the 2 portraits into pieces. After that, the strange feeling did not appear again. Lin Ling secretly wiped off his cold sweat. Although he did not know why this happened, he now felt that the 2 portraits were a little evil. Thank you. Then, Lin Ling said to the giant ghost beside him. Previously, it was the giant ghost that woke him up. Those 2 portraits are not simple. There is a strange power in them. It's a bit like your steps of God. The giant ghost nodded and said. Steps of God. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. After nodding, he immediately chased after Longyang and the rest. However, as he ran, he thought of the first portrait again. Of course, this time he thought of it voluntarily, so there was no strange feeling. In the first portrait, the mysterious man did not have a silhouette. Under the altar, countless people were kneeling, forming a force that condensed on the man's body. Next, in the second portrait, the man's facial features began to appear. Lin Ling immediately told the giant ghost this because he felt that the 2 portraits seemed to be telling him something. Could it be the power of faith? The giant ghost pondered for a moment and said immediately. It's very possible. Lin Ling nodded and did not think anymore. He chased after Longyang and the rest. Unknowingly, the hall with the sapphire spiritual flower was getting closer and closer. However, just as they approached, they immediately saw that the door of the hall was tightly shut. There were many people in white outside the door. It seemed that this place with great treasures was heavily guarded. Get lost, I want to go in. However, one of the people in white seemed to want to enter the hall. Of course, the others naturally stopped him. I'm Huang Ling. The person in white's face was cold as he said majestically, Huang Ling. Hearing his words, the faces of the people in white outside the door changed, revealing a difficult look. I'm Huang Ling. The person in white did not say much. He still said the same sentence, but his mouth spat out the spirit kingdom's incantation. However, he was sneering in his heart because he knew that this sentence represented the key. Sacred Dragon K Phoenix. These were the ranks of the spirit kingdom. They were Sacred Spirit, Dragon Spirit, K Spirit, and Huang Ling. Although the Huang Ling was the lowest rank. But to the warriors of the spirit kingdom, this rank was higher than theirs. Understood, my lord. The people in white stared at the spirit kingdom's incantation and then kept thinking. Finally, they could only nod. Then, a few of them spat out the spirit kingdom's incantation on the huge ice door. Every time the incantation appeared, the thick ice door opened a little. As for the person in white, his face was still cold, but his heart was filled with joy. He could finally sneak in. In order to sneak in, he had thought of all kinds of methods. In the end, he ambushed an expert of the spirit kingdom and used a secret treasure to prevent the other party from committing suicide. He also took everything from the other party, including his identity. Now, as long as he could enter, the treasures in the hall would be his. It's him. Far away from the ice door, Lin Ling and Longyang were quietly watching. Longyang suddenly frowned, then gritted her teeth and said, You know him? Chapter 4109. Han Xie. He's the challenger who betrayed us. Longyang nodded. Her words made Lin Ling stunned for a moment. Following that, his lips curled into a sneer. He had been looking for that challenger all this time. Who would have thought that he would bump into the muzzle of his gun? If he didn't mess with him, Lin Ling's years of martial arts training would have been in vain. Longyang saw Lin Ling's eyes flash. Although that cold light was hidden very well, she still caught it in the end. Subconsciously, Longyang's heart trembled as a feeling of dread rose within her. Because she was too familiar with Lin Ling. Once this cold light appeared in Lin Ling's eyes, then someone would definitely be unlucky. And as his opponent, she had suffered plenty of such hardships in the past. You also have enmity with him? Longyang suddenly asked. Lin Ling smiled and nodded. He told her about the previous matter, which made Longyang finally understand. However, she also secretly admired that challenger. This admiration was not because of his methods, but because of his courage. He actually dared to frame Lin Ling for no reason. At this moment, the white-robed man had his hands behind his back as he slowly watched the ice door open. The smile on his lips deepened by a bit. This large hall contained countless treasures. Naturally, he knew about it. He even guessed that this was the place where the spiritual light city stored their treasures. Not only did it contain the indigo spiritual flower, it also contained other rare treasures. Of course, ordinary people would not be able to get close to this kind of treasure trove. However, in the current spiritual light city, the experts had already left. This gave him this opportunity. Lin Ling? He's just an idiot. He secretly sneered. Towards Lin Ling, he naturally did not recognize him. However, he had heard of his name. It was said that he was a fierce person under Lei Gong. However, in his opinion, he was just a person with an undeserved reputation. Perhaps this Lin Ling was powerful to the cultivators of the 9 prefectures, but to the cultivators of the 9 prefectures, he was still too tender. I'm sorry. In order to enter this place, I have to sacrifice you. Of course, this is also a lesson that I, Han Xie, have taught you. The white-robed man said sarcastically. With this thought in mind, the huge ice door in front of him opened wide enough for one person to enter. This made Han Xie secretly excited. However, just as he was about to enter, a chuckle suddenly sounded behind him. My friend, as the saying goes, it's hard to swallow everything alone. Could it be that you want to swallow all the treasures inside? The voice was very clear and crisp. It was obviously a woman's voice. Han Xie subconsciously turned his head to look. Then, he was stunned. He almost rubbed his eyes. This was because he recognized the two people who were walking over. They were the trial takers Long Myung and the others. Not long ago, it was precisely because he had betrayed Long Myung and the others that they were able to avoid capture time and time again. Hee, you're really lucky. You're actually still alive. Then, Han Xie couldn't help but laugh. He looked at Long Myung and the others with contempt. What he was talking about was naturally the matter of Long Myung and the others being hunted down not long ago. At the mention of this, Long Myung and the others immediately frowned. Their eyes were filled with anger. However, Han Xie didn't care at all. It was as if he was the wise man of the world. Everyone was being toyed with in the palm of his hand. You want the treasures inside? Then, he said calmly. That's right. We're all from the same place. Could it be that you want to swallow it all for yourself? Long Myung suppressed the anger in her heart and said coldly. Ha ha ha. Han Xie instantly burst into laughter. He played with his fingernails and said, I'm sorry. I don't like to share things with others and I don't have the habit of doing so. So, you have no right to touch those treasures. Of course, I know that you're definitely thinking of doing something. Unfortunately, you're still too inexperienced. After speaking, he looked at the people in white beside him and said, These two are spies. Capture them immediately. After speaking, he was extremely excited. Amir Long Myung wanted to fight with him. She was simply courting death. The people in white had been listening to Long Myung and the others' conversation. Of course, they didn't really understand it. However, they understood Han Xie's last sentence. Spies? At this moment, all the people in white stared coldly at Long Myung and the others. Long Myung, you really don't have the right to fight with me. Let me give you a piece of advice. If you run away immediately, you still have a chance to escape. On the other hand, Han Xie took a step back as if he had retreated behind the scenes. However, he laughed as he walked and was extremely pleased with himself. Spies. As for the people in white, they were ready to attack. What's going on? However, at this moment, a large number of people in white arrived. The leader was a handsome young man. Of course, he was Lin Ling. Sir, they're spies. Seeing Lin Ling walking over with many people in white, the people in white guarding the door immediately guessed that Lin Ling was not simple. Therefore, they pointed at Long Myung and the others and said. As for Han Xie, he was also staring at Lin Ling. Unfortunately, he had never seen Lin Ling before. Instead, he thought that Lin Ling was from the Spirit Nation and someone of high status. He was secretly shocked. He was afraid that Lin Ling would discover that he was a fake. However, on second thought, he knew Huang Ling's Spirit Nation mantra. Therefore, Lin Ling should not be able to discover him. How can you be sure that they're spies? At this moment, Lin Ling spoke coldly. Yes. Lord Huang Ling said so. The people in white immediately looked at Han Xie. This caused Han Xie to curse silently. He braced himself and bowed to Lin Ling and said, I've seen them before. Therefore, I know. Oh, you, who are you? Lin Ling looked at Han Xie and asked. I am. Oh right, who are you? What right do you have to ask me? Han Xie was a little nervous at first. However, he quickly plucked up his courage and said. I'm not qualified. You must have a pair of dog eyes. Lin Ling laughed and scolded him directly. Han Xie was furious. As the heavenly voice of God, he had never been scolded like this before. Of course, although he was angry, he did not dare to flare up. Lin Ling did not say much. He activated his Jia Qi and spat out the Spirit Nation mantra. When these words came out, the faces of the people in white in front of the ice door changed completely. This was because they knew that this was the K spirit of the holy dragon Phoenix K. In the spirit nation, this was not a weak position. It was even higher than Huang Ling. Therefore, the people in white all bowed. However, Han Xia was stunned. This was because he did not understand the spirit nation mantra. Currently, he only knew one type of spirit nation mantra. Are you stupid? You don't understand? Why are you still in a daze? Why aren't you bowing? Are you looking down on me? While Han Xia was in a daze, Lin Ling's gaze was already fixed on him. He naturally sensed that this cultivator was very strong. He was not weaker than Sister Zhen. However, now that they were in Spirit Light City, no matter how strong this cultivator was, he did not dare to act recklessly. This was because he was afraid of exposing his identity. Me. Chapter 41:10. I'm not a spy. Pa. Lin Ling walked over and grabbed him by the neck. Then, he gave him a few hard slaps on the face. As a subordinate, you actually didn't pay your respects to me when you saw me. If you continue to act like a fool, you deserve a beating. Pa pa pa. A series of vicious slaps were thrown over, leaving Han Xia dumbfounded. Because someone actually dared to slap his face? One had to know that in the entire universe, apart from gods, no one would dare to slap his face. For the treasures inside, I have to endure. However, Han Xia was someone who would do great things in the end. He endured the humiliation and said respectfully, "My lord, you've hit me well. I didn't react in time and was rude. You've hit me well." Previously, he was still thinking of using his status to suppress the other party, but he immediately guessed that the person in front of him was probably of a higher status than him, so he could only give up on this idea of using his status. However, he also had an intuition that the cultivation of the person in front of him was not high. Damn it. With such a low cultivation level, he was already the lord above him. He really didn't know how the spirit nation determined one's status. It was such a mess. If he knew that the person in front of him was also a fake, he would probably go crazy from anger. Are you an idiot? I'm slapping your face, and you're saying it's a good slap. Lin Ling said mockingly as he stopped after a while. It is my fortune to be slapped in the face by your excellency. As a trial taker, Han Xia naturally knew when to yield and when to stand tall. Of course, this was just suppressing his anger. If that's the case, I'll play a little more. Lin Ling nodded with a satisfied look on his face. Ah. Han Xia opened his mouth wide. He had been trying to flatter him, but who knew that not only did the other party accept his flattery, he even wanted to slap his face. Endure. Bear with it. After this storm, he, Han Xia, would be able to do whatever he wanted. Moreover, he wanted to take away all the treasures in the main hall, not leaving a single one behind. He leaned over and said with a smile, "Sir, please hit me. As long as Sir is happy, Sir will do anything." How despicable. Lin Ling sneered. The other party had already sent his face over. If he didn't hit him, then he would be letting this cultivator down. Therefore, not only did he want to hit him, he even hit him harder and harder. Pa pa pa. Han Xia spat out blood from the corner of his mouth. His teeth were broken, and his face was bruised and swollen. He was slapped in the face by Lin Ling, so he naturally didn't dare to defend himself. In the end, he was beaten until he saw stars. Moreover, what made him depressed was that this lord whom he had never met before seemed to be very unhappy with him. With a swing of his hand, he gave him a few hundred slaps. What bad luck. Of course, when he was slapped in the face, he naturally saw Longyang and the rest sneering at him. This made him laugh coldly in his heart. For now, he was enduring, but in a while, the unlucky ones would definitely be Longyang and the others. My lord, go ahead and hit him. Vent your anger. If you hit the right side of his face, don't forget to hit the left side. As he said that, he moved his face forward again. This time, Lin Ling was stunned. Was this guy a masochist? At that moment, Lin Ling didn't hold back anymore. He rolled up his sleeves and waved his hand again. The crisp sound of a slap drifted out, making Lin Ling feel extremely carefree. This cultivator had framed him, Lin Ling. Now, he, Lin Ling, could be considered to have collected some interest. Unfortunately, this cultivator still didn't know that the person who hit him was Lin Ling. And this kind of violent beating continued until Lin Ling's hands went limp. He had slapped many people in his life, but this was the first time he had slapped someone so carefree. Looking at Han Xia again, he was so angry that his heart was about to explode. However, seeing that Lin Ling had stopped, he finally felt relieved. Next, he lifted his pig-headed face and looked at Lin Ling with a smile and said, "My lord, I know 2 spies. It's them." He believed that he had already let this lord vent his anger. This lord shouldn't target him anymore. He might even treat him as a confidant. After all, a loyal dog like him was extremely rare. Which superior didn't like this kind of subordinate who could vent his anger? They are spies? I don't think so. Lin Ling also turned to look at Longmyang and the rest, but shook his head. Han Xia was stunned because he was sure that this lord definitely didn't know Longmyang and the rest. So how could this lord be sure that Longmyang and the rest weren't spies? Moreover, he had been beaten into a pig's head by this lord. This lord should give him some face. I think you are more like a spy. While he was in disbelief, Lin Ling's next sentence made Han Xia even more stunned. He was a spy. He immediately explained and said the Spirit Kingdom's mantra. Look, I know the Spirit Kingdom's mantra. I'm not a spy. He was so depressed that he wanted to die. This was because he had already slapped this lord so many times. Logically speaking, this lord shouldn't have any prejudice against him and shouldn't target him. But now, it seemed that this lord had already slapped him, and even slandered him as a spy. No matter how I look at them, they don't look like spies. At this moment, Lin Ling spoke again. As for you, although you know the Spirit Kingdom's mantra, I think you are more like a spy. Why? Han Xia gritted his teeth and continued to suppress his anger. He thought to himself. It seemed that he had been slapped for nothing. Fuck. Because they are good-looking. As people of the Spirit Kingdom, good-looking people are definitely not spies. As for you, you are ugly with a swollen face and small eyes. You look more like a spy. Lin Ling nodded seriously. What the fuck? Han Xia almost fainted from anger. Just because Longmyang and the rest were good-looking? Furthermore, he was also good-looking. It was just that he had been slapped by this lord until his face was swollen. Men, capture him. Without waiting for Han Xia to speak, Lin Ling shouted coldly. Lord, I've been wronged. Han Xia almost knelt down as his heart went crazy. This was because he had almost entered the treasure trove but was suddenly mistaken as a spy. And the reason was because he was ugly. How could he accept such a reason? Of course, with his proud and arrogant character, he almost wanted to attack these people. But he knew that once he did, he would be chased by the people of the Spirit Kingdom through 9 streets. Although he was very confident in his own strength, he didn't have the confidence to go against so many powerful cultivators. Especially when he knew that the powerful cultivators of the Spirit Light City were still outside. If they were to return, even 10 lives wouldn't be enough for him. Therefore, he was making a final struggle, hoping that Lin Ling would give him a way out and not accuse him wrongly. However, he didn't know that Lin Ling had purposely targeted him. Accuse my ass. You've been accused wrongly. That sound knows how to climb trees. To be honest, I've thought that you were a spy from the start. Men, capture him. Lin Ling shook his head disdainfully. With a wave of his hand, the men in white behind him charged forward. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.